Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has the Phoenix Force in high school DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Hail Emperor Naruto, and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Naruto-sama. Naruto let out a groan as he heard that. What did he do to God for him to punish Naruto so? He's a hero for goodness sake. Saved his world. Sacrificed his life to kill Madara. So why has he been cursed with this horrible trio? Naruto lifted his head from where it had been resting on his arms to glare at the approaching trio that had become the bane of Naruto's high school existence. Okay, that might have been a bit exaggerated, but still overall true. The three were known throughout Koe Academy as the perverted trio. Put into simple terms, they were like three little Jiraiya's. No, worse. Jiraiya had been things besides a super pervert. He'd been a sage, a writer, a ninja, a spy master, etc. While it had been one of his biggest traits, being a pervert was only one of his traits. These three were like 100% perverts. They really had no other redeeming qualities. Okay, that might be a little bit harsh. They aren't that bad. Their lives just seemed to revolve around perversion. The trio consisted of Matsuda, Motohama, and Issei. Matsuda was a former jock and sports star who apparently gave it all up in favor of his perversion, which made no sense to Naruto since girls love guys who are good at sports. It's like putting down a sword to jump into a sword fight. Giving up your biggest weapon before it even starts. He was usually referred to as perverted baldy or sexual harassment paparazzi. He was also a self-proclaimed lilicon. Motohama was usually referred to as perverted glasses or 3 sizes scouter, due to his apparent ability to calculate a woman's 3 sizes just by looking. The final one was Issei Hayata, who was pretty average. Besides his ridiculous libido and obsession with breasts, he was also the one Naruto preferred the most, if only because he seemed to scream about his perverse thoughts less. It was clear he had them all the time, but he was less likely to announce it as shamelessly as Matsuda or Motohama. Motohama literally once screamed, "I'll rape all you girls in my mind." That's just creepy. Truthfully, Naruto could have overlooked their rampant perversion. He had a lot of experience dealing with perverts from his training trip with Jiraiya. No, it wasn't their perversion he didn't like. It was because they damn near fucked up his reputation within 10 minutes of him starting here. Naruto had started at Koe Academy as a second year. It hadn't been Naruto's idea either. He had not wanted to attend school, not in the least. It didn't matter if Koa's school population was about 3/4 female. It was still school in Naruto's mind. Naruto owed the person a favor for saving his life though, and they wanted him to attend Koe. Sometimes Naruto hates being so good-natured, so he'd reluctantly applied and been accepted. He transferred in just 2 weeks after the start of the year. He'd had the misfortune of being in the same class as the perverted trio. He'd only needed to say his name before the three stood up and screamed out his most shameful secret. He'd woken up from a coma in a different world. His money didn't count here. The person to save him didn't have money for obvious reasons due to their identity. He needed money to pay for an apartment, food, school tuition, and other miscellaneous stuff in order to repay the person who saved him. So he published Ika. He'd found a reputable publishing company and done it. He'd only had 2 of the series and the Sealing Scrolls that survived the journey over here. Even those 2 were only there because he forgot about them, since he hadn't liked the series enough to carry them all around on him. He wasn't Kakashi after all. Those 2 had still been worth enough for Naruto to live the next 10 years comfortably. It gave him bad karma though, which quickly came to bite him in the ass. Naruto had published them under the pseudonym Jiraiya Sannin, but he hadn't made it too rock solid. He hadn't expected anyone to investigate. He shouldn't have underestimated how determined heavy-duty perverts can be. Within a week of the books hitting the shelf, all 3 members of the perverted trio had managed to dig up that the real author of Ika was apparently a 16-year-old, Scandinavian-looking boy named Uzumaki Naruto. So when Naruto introduced himself to their class within days, their reaction was clear. Declaring that he was the author of Ika to the world, and then bowing before his greatness as the ultimate pervert. Koe Academy is like 70 to 80% female, so being referred to as the ultimate pervert by the 3 most perverted students in the school was quite possibly the worst way to start his school life in existence. No one believed him when he claimed that he had simply published books his godfather had written either. Apparently something about Naruto screamed pervert. It was thankful Naruto had thick skin. Yeah, he would have preferred being accepted as another average student in the beginning, but it wasn't like he was going to cry in a corner about his fellow students calling him names. He was Uzumaki fucking Naruto. He faced down Uchiha Madara when he was the Jubi Jinchuriki without fear. Call him names and he'll just laugh in your face before pranking your ass. In the end, Naruto viewed this as a similar, easier form of the Konoha he endured as a child. Just deal with everything, stay positive, stay true to himself, and eventually everyone's perceptions will change. He had absolute confidence in that. It proved true. Perceptions changed far faster than those in Konoha had, although that probably had to do with the difference in initial loathing. A pervert and a Jinchuriki are 2 entirely different things. Naruto was still considered a pervert by most of the student population, but they had eventually accepted that there was much more to him, like his prankster side. That might be the thing Naruto likes most about going to this school, probably even more than the many beautiful girls all around. Once he had become a ninja, Naruto had reluctantly been forced to stop doing pranks. Something about professionalism and image, now that he could once again prank to his heart's desire, well, it was like an early Christmas to Naruto. Alko became his playground. He had to make sure to keep it safe and minimize the damage, except to people's pride, but that just made it more fun. No one was safe from him. He's even started pranking entire clubs at a time. Otherwise he'd sort of settled into the role of an ordinary student. His grades were below average, since Naruto had never been one for bookwork. Not to mention the Ninja Academy didn't quite teach them the stuff they learn here. So Naruto basically lacked the middle school education of this world. The only subject Naruto excelled in was physical education, for obvious reasons. Even in his weakened state, Naruto was in fantastic shape, easily the most fit kid in the school. His social life was even better. Even if Naruto has been widely accepted as a pervert, he was charismatic enough that people generally can't hold it against him for long. It wasn't even a conscious thing. Naruto didn't consider himself smooth or charming, and thus didn't even try to be. He was just completely honest with himself, which had a certain charm to a lot of people who felt they had to hide parts of themselves. It also helped Naruto was probably one of the most empathetic and overall kind individuals in the world. Even his romantic life was pretty good, considering he was widely considered the most perverted kid in the school. He was even kind of popular with the girls. He was kind, funny, and caring. He also wasn't that bad looking. Girls weren't willing to drop their panties whenever he smiled, like a certain princely Bishounen at the school, but most would agree his looks were on the higher end of the spectrum. He apparently had the roguish, free spirit look to him. He hasn't had an official relationship, but he has had relations with a number of girls. What? Don't judge him. Naruto was a straight male. Not to mention he was a bit of a pervert. Being the apparent author of Ika Ika also sort of doomed any desire for chastity he might have had. It was a turn-off for most girls, but there were the rare perverted females. They tended to volunteer as models for his next book, as well as offering to provide him inspiration. Once again, Naruto was straight, so he simply couldn't refuse offers like that. Ika Kiryu was a regular, providing him inspiration once a week. Things snowballed from there since it quickly spread around the school that Naruto was a very, very accomplished lover. Seems plenty of high school girls don't mind the idea of starting a casual relationship with a person gifted in the bedroom arts, as long as it remains on the down low. Totally awesome. Even Naruto couldn't deny that. Back to the perverted trio. The three seemed insisted on treating him like an icon. It was actually annoying, not to mention they bothered him incessantly for dating advice or asking him to set them up with some girls. It was like they thought he owed them for outing him as the author of Ika Ika, or empathized with them due to their supposed similar personalities. Naruto just wanted them to leave him alone. He did not get his wish. Naruto-sama, Matsuda practically screamed before getting on his knees and clasping Naruto's hand. He then continued, as always, I give praise unto your name for the blessings you have bestowed upon this world. Yes, Ika Ika is truly the greatest blessing this world has ever seen. I worshipped your work all last night. Naruto just gave him a disgusted look. It grew even more disgusted when he looked at how Matsuda was clasping his hands. Naruto had no doubt of what those hands had been doing last night, and Naruto did not want them touching any part of him. Roughly ripping his hand away from Matsuda's, he then commented in irritation, great, now I need to wash my hand thoroughly with industrial strength cleaning products. I don't care if my skin is burned off. The very thought of where those hands have been is nauseating. His words sent Matsuda crying in the corner, but Motohama quickly filled in the gap by questioning with an intensely serious face more fit for one going to war. Please, Naruto-sama. I know you have refused to answer 127 times before, but I must know. What is the current progress on the next Ika Ika? And what is the main theme? Ika Ika journey included many different women, and a variety of sexual fetishes. It was aimed at everyone. Ika Ika Slave was an exploration of masochism, with the main character interacting with far fewer females. It was aimed at a smaller, but more devoted fan base. Can we expect a more wide-ranging book like Journey, or a more fetish-focused book like Slave? Naruto growled as he face-palmed. He asked this every day? Sometimes twice a day. Naruto was already ashamed he had finally caved into writing a third Ika Ika because of pressure by the publishers. He didn't need this type of pressure during the process of writing it. Writing porn was really hard, especially since Naruto wasn't a pervert on the level of Jiraiya, who could get off on just about everything. Naruto couldn't even read Ika Ika Slave due to how much he dislikes the idea of being a masochist. It makes him nauseous just thinking about it. Naruto could only write stuff that fit with his own preference, which he was rather embarrassed to admit. The idea of people reading erotica that he wrote himself was even worse than people thinking he wrote the previous two. So Motohama bringing it up every day was just plain stressful. Stressful enough that Naruto kicked him away roughly before ordering, "Stop asking me this for the next 6 months and I'll tell you how far along I am." "Deal," Motohama replied instantly, completely uncaring of the footprint on his chest. Grunting, Naruto told him reluctantly, "I'm about a quarter of the way through." My deadline isn't for 6 months. Then it will probably take a month or 2 before it hits the shelves. 7 or 8 months? That's too long. Please let me read what you have. I can give you expert advice on it, Motohama quickly declared as he grabbed Naruto's legs while crying pitifully. Gay. Get off me, you perverted leech, Naruto grunted out as he tried to kick off the pervert, who proved Naruto's insult to him by sticking like a leech. Once Naruto finally managed to remove him, he said bluntly, no way. The publisher is strict on me letting people read it before the release, not that I would have showed you anyway. And advice? You're still a virgin, so you certainly can't give me expert advice. With Motohama now joining Matsuda in the corner, Issei stepped up. Realizing Naruto didn't like them touching him, he just leaned close and informed him with a perverted leer, hey, Naruto-sama. We're going to go peep on the kendo club. With a match coming up, they're practicing during the lunch periods. It's a beautiful sight. Wanna join us? Naruto gave him softer look than he had the other two, since he at least seemed to realize he didn't like them touching him. He still told him bluntly, no way. I don't peep. That's a bit of a lie, but Naruto was far more subtle about it. He never got caught on the rare occasions he does, unlike the perverted trio who are caught every time. The claim also has helped heal Naruto's reputation around the school. Issei deflated slightly before arguing while shaking his head, that's a shame, Naruto-sama. The female form is the most beautiful thing in the world. Peeping is simply a way to worship it as it should be worshipped. No, it's a way for guys who have no chance with girls to sate their lust for an asses, Naruto deadpanned. Not completely true since Jiraiya used to peek, and Jiraiya was surprisingly smooth when he had actually wanted to seduce a woman. He just claimed to enjoy the art of peeping. Naruto personally believed he just liked getting caught and beat up. Ika slave was a bit too detailed and heartfelt for Naruto to believe Jiraiya didn't have a huge masochistic streak in him. Back in the real world, Naruto's direct statement about their lack of success with girls seemed enough to send Issei to the corner with the other two. Naruto's kind nature quickly seeped through though since he honestly liked Issei. He was the one that reminded Naruto of Jiraiya the most. A good guy with way too much lust, and way too little control over it. So Naruto pat Issei's head with a sigh before telling him, sorry. I'm just a bit stressed today. I'm sure your luck with women will improve someday, Issei. Issei's attitude quickly changed, and he looked at Naruto with stars in his eyes. Naruto wasn't surprised by it. Strong emotions in this world seemed to result in sparkles, stars, shapes, and other stuff to form around people. It was weird like that. Usually they were better looking people than Issei, but Issei's perversion was strong enough to make up for that. Why is Naruto's mind wandering like this? He really is stressed. Back to Issei, who still had the sparkles in his eyes. He quickly asked, so you think I'll eventually get my harem? That made Naruto's sweat drop. Issei and his harem. You at least had to admire the kid for being upfront about it. It isn't impossible either. Naruto probably would have ended up with a harem if he had managed to stay in his own world during the final battle with Madara. Sure, he may have been a hero, but he had been a loser and pariah as a kid. Who's to say Issei might not become a hero in the future? This world seemed a bit more against that sort of thing, but it still isn't too out there. Just rare, very rare. It is possible, Naruto told him hesitantly. Issei clearly didn't notice, or didn't care about, the hesitation in Naruto's statement. He just fist-pumped while declaring loudly yes, with an arrow god like you on my side, I'm sure to eventually succeed. I'm not an arrow god, Naruto muttered, but was ignored. So he just sighed and stood up. He then started stretching as he claimed, there's another reason I can't peep with you. Issei looked at Naruto stretching before asking in resignation, who did you prank? Naruto grinned before answering gleefully, the soccer club. They are also practicing during the lunch period since they have a match coming up. I put some press and stick photos of men posing naked on their sports balls. Permanent photos. That's just disgusting. You would have had to special order those. What did you do? Search the web for pictures of naked men? Issei questioned with a sweat drop. Yep, Naruto answered without hesitation. Seeing the disgust on Issei's face, Naruto rolled his eyes before claiming, oh, grow up. They're just you see one every time you go to the bathroom. I'm confident in my sexuality, and confident with what I was born with. Very confident in the latter. I don't need to shy away from seeing a naked man for my own self-esteem. Hey! I'm confident in my sexuality and tool too, Issei announced, clearly insulted by Naruto's insinuation. He then finished while shivering, it's not lacking confidence, it's disgust. Men are just plain disgusting to look at. True that, Naruto admitted, acknowledging that point. He then continued, but plenty in life is distasteful to do. Just bear with it like when you eat your veggies. Tilting his head slightly, Naruto commented, ETA 14 seconds. Time to go. Naruto moved to the window and opened it. He then jumped out, uncaring of the fact that they were on the second floor. No one else in the class reacted either. Naruto's preferred method of leaving the class was using the window. It was like his interactions with the perverted trio, just an everyday occurrence to the class. Although the short topic of naked men and today had made a few of the girls blush, they also didn't react when seconds after Naruto left, they heard the sound of a large group running towards them. Naruto had great hearing, so he always knew when people were approaching. When a pissed-off football club opened the door roughly, everyone in the class pointed at the window and announced in unison, "Jumped out the window." The football club immediately turned and moved to start the chase that inevitably followed one of Naruto's pranks. 10 minutes later Naruto was cackling like a maniac. Partly due to his own amusement. His main pranks against the club were meant to make them chase him, but he was more than willing to do several smaller pranks during the chase itself. That includes trip lines, paint balls, stink pellets, even a few acid pellets designed to eat away clothes. Watching the football club grow even more annoyed throughout the chase was hilarious. Mainly the cackle was for the entertainment of the spectators watching the chase though. If you're going to be chased throughout the entire school, you might as well make it entertaining. Needless to say, watching 50 kids in various states of dishevelment, from dissolved portions of clothing, covered in pink, orange, and yellow paint, and stinking like a sewer, all chasing after a single kid cackling like an insane character from an anime was an interesting spectacle. It never failed to make the surrounding students laugh, especially since Naruto had a tendency to mix it up. The videos of the billiards club with their heads shaved and painted to look like billiards balls, the karate club in chicken suits, and the art club painted like clowns still circulated among the students. Yeah, everyone was eventually a victim of Naruto's pranks, but 99% of the time you just got to laugh at the other victims. It spiced up the school life, or at least Naruto claimed that. The chase eventually entered one of the many buildings comprising Ko Academy. Naruto was fully entertained by this point, and calling back taunts to the tiring pursuers. Even without numbering him by 50-1, they still couldn't catch him. Naruto was too fast and agile. At least the numbers made it fun for Naruto, so he barely reacted in time when he turned the corner. Sensing two people right in his way, Naruto pulled off a desperate spin. He felt his skin run along the uniform of the closer one, but successfully managed to avoid colliding with her. Oh yeah, Uzumaki. That was totally awesome. His self-praise was abruptly ended when one of his feet slipped, and he face-planted on the ground. Naruto had always been a rather clumsy person. Even when he became a bona fide badass he was far from the most graceful ninja. Apparently trying to pull off a spin at full speed at the last moment was a bit beyond his current abilities. He just laid there for a second as he silently bemoaned his mistake. Yeah, real smooth. It wouldn't be Naruto though if he didn't immediately bounce back. Within a second he jumped to his feet. He paused for a second as he grasped his spinning head, since he had face-planted rather hard. "Are you okay, Uzumaki-san?" a voice asked as he was trying to recover from his possible concussion. "Yeah, I'm good. I'm pretty durable. Just give me a second," Naruto muttered. He finally recovered enough to open his eyes to look upon the person he had avoided running into. The first thing he saw was red. Acting without a moment of thought, Naruto stepped forward and grabbed a strand of the crimson-red hair. He then looked the girl in the face and commented with a wide smile, "Wow. Your hair is such a beautiful color." Rias just blinked. She didn't mind that he'd intruded on her personal space and grabbed some of her hair, since she didn't much care for such things. It was his words that surprised her. She'd never heard that before. Okay, she had, but never as the first thing. Most people complimented her body first, at least mentally if not out loud. Her eyes second. Her flawless skin or face shape third. Her hair was usually the fifth or sixth thing a person complimented. Yet this guy did it immediately after seeing her. It was different. Her surprise gave Naruto enough time to realize what he'd just done. He was naturally a blunt and improper person, saying what he thought. No hesitation whatsoever, but he did know proper manners on some level. So he knew plenty of girls would be creeped out or intimidated by him suddenly intruding on their personal space, grabbing their hair, and complimenting it. He didn't even know this girl's name, so he quickly took a step back while letting go of her hair. He then scratched the back of his neck and laughed in embarrassment before saying, "Sorry about that. I can be kind of thoughtless. I hope I didn't alarm you, Ms." Rias once again blinked in shock. He didn't know her name. Yeah, the two had never spoken before, but she was used to everyone at the school knowing her name. Another aspect of him that differed from the norm. Rias managed to hide her shock and chuckled softly before replying with a small smile, "It is fine, Uzumaki-san. I was surprised, but I'm flattered by your compliment. I'm Rias by the way. Rias as my given name." This time it was Naruto's turn to be surprised. He tilted his head in confusion before asking, "I'm sorry for asking, but have we met before, Rias-san? You seem to know me." "No, we have not. You are simply rather well known around the school, Naruto-san," Rias replied calmly, surprised but comfortable with his use of her given name. Reciprocating the level of familiarity was automatic for her. Era. "It seems I've been overlooked," a soft voice spoke up. "Oh, sorry. I was distracted," Naruto said while once again scratching the back of his neck in embarrassment at the oversight. He turned to look at the person. Immediately he grew pale. It wasn't because of the looks of the person. The girl, better to refer to her as a woman, was stunning. She had the classic Yamato Nadeshiko look to her. Her eyes were a clear violet, and her incredibly long black hair was tied back into a ponytail, with an orange ribbon, databeo. 2 strands of her hair were sticking up, sloping backwards. She was also incredibly buxom, surpassing even Rias, who was very buxom as well. She was the type of woman every male probably wanted to settle down with. No, he paled for another reason. His gut and training with Jiraiya told him a very disturbing secret of the proper-looking woman in front of him. Pointing at her in terror, he then yelled in panic, "Aya! Sadist! Run away!" Naruto then did just that. Turned tail and ran with his tail between his legs. Never let it be said that Naruto was a masochist. He might have let Sakura hit him, but that was because that had simply been part of the weird relationship they had between them. He did something stupid, she hit him. If he dodged, she just got angry and would try to hit him twice. The only way to avoid being hit entirely was to not do something stupid, not likely, so he just accepted the one hit as the best choice. The idea of someone getting sexual pleasure from causing him pain scared him so much he just outright avoided sadists. Since part of his training with Jiraiya involved being able to properly identify people's sexual fetishes, yes, Jiraiya chose to teach him stuff like that instead of techniques. Naruto was very good at avoiding them. The football club unfortunately arrived just in time to see Naruto point at Akeno, call her a sadist, before running away. Calling the prim and proper Himejimonisama a sadist was more than enough to reignite the fire of their determination to catch and punish Naruto. Such a lie was unforgivable. Ignorance is truly bliss. So they ran past the two great ladies of Ko Academy while screaming insults at Naruto. "How dare you insult Himejima-senpai? Die, filthy lying pervert, burn him at the stake." For Himejimo-nisama's honor, Akeno just watched this all occur with wide eyes. Needless to say, she had never had a guy run away from her before like that. Usually they bowed in worship when she smiled. Too bad. She liked his book, Ika Ika Slave. Seems there is some truth to his apparent claim to not being the original writer. No one capable of writing a book about masochism so well would run from a sadist with such fear. A fufu, seems someone got a perfect measure of your heart with just one look, Akeno, Rias commented with an amused smile. Akeno just smiled as she replied calmly, "I am offended, Bucho. I am not only a sadist, I am also a masochist." Rias just sweat dropped before suggesting, "You say that, but you always seem on S mode. Even I've never seen your M side. But Bucho, you already cover the masochist space in our club. Doubling up is a waste. So I have no choice but to cover the sadist space," Akeno claimed with a wide smile. She then put her cheek in her hand and sighed before adding in an exaggeratedly sad voice, "I'm such a good friend to my king that I have no choice but to take incredible pleasure in the pain of our enemies." "Oh, woe is me." Rias just sweat dropped again before muttering, "You always say that, but I'm not a masochist." "Yes you are. My sadist senses always tingle around you, Bucho," Akeno retorted immediately. That caused Rias to shiver. Akeno had always openly claimed to not care about gender. As long as they feel pain. She did not know what to think when Akeno says stuff like that. Rias' mood took a 180 after that. Straightening, she grew serious before asking, "So that is Uzumaki Naruto? Never met him face to face before. You felt it too, right?" "Yes," Akeno answered, matching her king's seriousness. She then continued, "His magic reserves are above average for a human. We've known that for a time." Rias just thought for a few seconds before asking, "What else do we know about him?" Akeno shrugged at her king's curiosity before reciting from memory, "Uzumaki Naruto, 17 years old. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. Considered good-looking. Just under 6 feet tall. Looks Scandinavian despite his Japanese name. Orphan. Second year. Transferred in 2 weeks after the start of the year. Below average grades. Incredibly physical fitness. Writer of the Ika Ika erotic novels. Empathetic, kind, enthusiastic, blunt, honest, and an emphatic prankster. Popular. Rumors of high sexual appetite. Not confirmed. Likely result of his status as author of Ika Ika. And his magical abilities and potential?" Rias quickly asked. "He has above average magical reserves for a normal person. Many of his pranks also indicate a high likelihood that he is capable of using a form of magic, due to the overall difficulty of them. His magic reserves are low for magicians though, meaning he is likely a failed magician. He's physically fit, and claims to know many different martial arts. Possible close combatant. Potential is good, if average. Likely a long-term project. Little short-term potential. No sacred gear," Akeno explained easily. "That's a shame," Rias stated with a sigh. "He seems a decent candidate for a peerage if one has time to properly nurture him, but she doesn't have that sort of time. She needs someone capable of being an asset within a few months. Seems Issei is still her only real hope." She turned and started walking away as she finished by saying, "He was kind of interesting too. Not bad looking either." "Man, who'd have thought calling out a sadist would motivate people so much," Naruto commented as he walked out of class. The football club had chased him far longer than he expected. They still didn't catch him, but they made him late for class. The teacher gave him extra homework as a punishment. He probably isn't going to do it, but that still means he'll be lectured tomorrow. He may be a master at tuning out lectures, but that doesn't mean he likes them. "You called Himejima-senpai a sadist. That's practically sacrilege," someone claimed immediately. Naruto looked over in exasperation to look at the perverted trio. Naruto was truly fated to be surrounded by perverts. There's no escaping it. No other way to explain the perverted trio all being in his class, and the three living close to him. They always stuck to him like glue on the walk back to their houses. Naruto finally just shook his head before asking, Himejima, huh? That's her name. I ran away before I got her name because of the whole, sadist thing she's got going on. Yes, that goddess's name is Himejima Akeno. One of the two great ladies of Ko Academy. Beautiful, elegant, and gentle. She is a perfect Japanese beauty, Motohama explained passionately. He then turned to Naruto with an anger he never used before when talking to Naruto. Apparently his love of Akeno surpasses his worship of Naruto. To have that gentle and demure beauty be called a sadist is the ultimate insult. It insults the entire Yamato Nadeshiko ideology. She is though. I know a sadist when I see one, and she is a serious sadist, Naruto asserted stubbornly. Matsuda and Motohama looked about to physically attack Naruto, but Issei acted first by declaring with a perverted face, I don't care either way. Those OPPI, such beautiful Ape. I don't care if she is a sadist or not. I would face death itself if those magnificent Ape were the reward. Matsuda and Motohama looked thoughtful for a few moments before gaining equally perverted faces. Matsuda quickly said that's true. Akeno-senpai is totally worth any cost. It would be like Ika slave. Plus, the idea of Akeno-senpai in a leather SM outfit shiver amazing. Naruto just looked at the trio in disgust. True, the trio had raved about Ika slave, so they were into that sort of thing. But Naruto could tell they could get off on anything if it meant a beautiful girl. He could stand perverts, but that sort of thing was just ridiculous to him. People have standards and preferences. It's just a matter of pride. These three just lacked any whatsoever. Naruto looked up into the sky and flipped the bird at it. This was just cruel, sticking Naruto with these three. If this was payback for creating the sexy jutsu, then he'd long since paid his due with Jiraiya. Now it was just someone up there laughing their ass off. Hayate Issei? A voice interrupted. Naruto looked towards the person. His eyebrows immediately rose up when he recognized the person. It was a girl their age. Her black hair was in a bob cut, and her eyes were a violet color. She also had a pair of red glasses on. She was a bit on the short side, with a rather petite figure. He recognized her. Sauna Shirtorai, the student council president. She was the one responsible with issuing him punishments for his many pranks. Issei looked baffled that she had asked for him. Bewildered, he looked around before pointing to himself questioningly. She nodded before saying, Yes, I mean you, Hayate-san. I need to talk to you. Issei's mouth opened and closed several times in confusion, forcing Naruto to act. Moving forward, he lightly shoved Issei forward. He then grabbed the back of Matsuda and Motohama's shirts and started pulling the two struggling boys away while telling Sauna, Sure you can. Not like he has anything better to do. Sauna's eyes turned sharp when she acknowledged Naruto. He chuckled awkwardly. She had never forgiven him for when he pranked the student council. Okay, it might have been a slightly inappropriate prank, maybe a bit of a perverted one, but it was to be expected. She was the one to punish him for his pranks most of the time. It was only natural that the student council would get the worst prank. Knowing he was unwanted, he started walking away. Matsuda and Motohama being pulled along. What the hell? Why is the Sauna Shirtorai talking to Issei? Unfair. Matsuda declared while struggling against Naruto. Just shut up. Issei was clearly just as shocked as you two. Now be good friends and be happy that a girl is willingly talking to him, Naruto ordered with a sigh. This is messed up. Sauna Kaishu is one of the most popular girls in school. Why is she talking to Issei? Don't tell me. A confession? Motohama asked in disbelief. Naruto rolled his eyes and just continued walking away. He doubted it was a confession. Not only was Issei not the type for girls to like, but Sauna wasn't the type to do something like that. Her eyes had also been cold, calculating. Naruto hadn't sensed a malicious intent towards Issei either. So she wasn't punishing him for anything. In conclusion, she probably has some business with Issei. More boring than a confession, but anything that gives Issei more experience with women is a good thing in Naruto's mind. He'll just have to ask Issei tomorrow about it. Next morning, you're joining the student council? Naruto asked, his eyes wide and his mouth hanging open. He had not been expecting that. He had arrived this morning to see Matsuda and Motohama trying to interrogate. Issei seemed to have been holding it in though barely. As soon as he saw Naruto, he burst out that Sauna had asked him to join the student council. Issei nodded eagerly before elaborating, yes, although Sauna-senpai says I'll have to be an ordinary assistant because people won't elect me to a more important position. Why though? Motohama demanded immediately. He then continued, there is literally no reason she would ask you to join the student council. I have better grades. This time Naruto detected clear signs of Issei holding something in. Issei wasn't that good of a liar, so there were many tells when Issei looked away and answered hesitantly. Sauna-senpai says I have a lot more potential than it appears. She says that joining the student council will teach me discipline, and she can help me study. The other two clearly bought it. Matsuda crossed his arms as he declared stiffly, don't see why you accepted then. Sounds like a drag. It will cut into your peeping time. Oh, there are certainly benefits, Issei claimed slyly. Looking around like he was trying to be subtle, he then leaned forward and continued, let's just say this brings me one step closer to my harem. While Matsuda and Motohama recoiled in shock, Naruto just raised an eyebrow before questioning, does this have to do with the fact that the entire student council is female? Issei laughed uncomfortably while shifting before claiming, yeah, that's it. Being around all those girls all the time is a good step, right? Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly when he detected that as another lie. Issei is hiding something, which is weird. Usually he blurts everything out, even stuff Naruto wishes he kept to himself. For him to be hiding something indicates it is important. And why is Issei shying away from the sun? He keeps raising his arm to try and block the rising sun's rays from getting in his eyes. He also seems tired. Deciding to put away those thoughts, Naruto just put a hand on Issei's head. He then ruffled his hair before commenting, don't really know what's going on, but you seem happy about it. That's good enough for me. Good luck with the student council. Issei grinned happily at Naruto's approval and acceptance. Not surprising since he did honestly idolize Naruto to a rather disturbing degree. Any further attempts by Matsuda and Motohama to interrogate Issei were cut off by the teacher coming in to start class. Bucho, are you in here? Akeno called out as she slowly opened the door to the clubroom. She quickly got her answer when she saw Rias at her desk. The young devil was in her chair, her face planted on her desk. An aura of gloom and depression surrounding her. Akeno blinked in surprise at the sight. Rias had been fine that morning. She'd gone to talk when her friend/rival Sona requested she come to the student council room. Akeno had only come here when she heard Rias hadn't shown up for her classes. Rias and her lived in the old school building, so they never really missed school. What had happened during her talk with Sona that had left Rias so miserable? Moving forward, Akeno touched Rias' shoulder before asking gently, Rias, what happened? Her use of her name instead of her title showed how concerned Akeno was. Rias eventually said something, but it was nonsensical because her face was still pressed against her desk. Akeno's sweat dropped before asking, can you repeat that? Rias slowly lifted her head to show a despairing face. She then informed her queen, Sona made Issei part of her peerage last night. What? Akeno asked in shock and dismay. You heard me, Rias grumbled before putting her face back against the desk. Akeno moved to a chair and collapsed into it as she absorbed the news. She then questioned in a tense voice, what happened? I thought Sona was stepping aside on Issei since you let her pick up 3 of the more magically talented students without issue. Rias lifted her head just enough to explain clearly, she says she did. She says that she has stayed to the sideline for months, but that time ran out. That she gave me plenty of time to make him part of my peerage, but didn't make use of the opportunity. That if I wasn't going to act, she wasn't going to restrain herself. Akeno wanted to argue, but couldn't. What Sona was saying was true. They identified Issei as a sacred gear holder at the end of the last year. They had immediately gone to Sona to claim him, cashing in the favor she owed them to prevent any arguments, but they haven't acted since. They had the entire summer and several more months since to induct him into Rias' peerage, but they hadn't. They had sat by on Rias' orders. To Sona, it must have appeared they had chosen to ignore Issei entirely. Since she had given Rias the chance to claim him, there was no issue in her claiming him now. From a logical standpoint, Sona had every right to claim Issei. So she did. This is horrible. Akeno finally exclaimed. I know. Riser is sure to come calling soon. I know. We have no chance to beat him in a rating game in our current condition. I know, Akeno. That stopped Akeno. She immediately stopped talking. She had just been repeating what Rias no doubt knew, and Rias was probably even more terrified by the implications than she was. Seeing Akeno calm down, Rias put her face back against her desk with a groan of despair. No matter how she thought about it, things did not look good. No, they looked downright terrible. The reason is because one Riser Phoenix, her fiancé. Not by choice though. The two had been engaged since before she had even been born. Put simply, Rias didn't want to marry him at all. The marriage had a lot of political implications though. With so few pure-blooded devils remaining, it was viewed as a way to ensure the next generation of pure-blooded devils. It would also cement an alliance between the Gremory clan and Phoenix family, 2 of the remaining 34 pillar families. So the marriage was pretty much set in stone, almost, but not quite. Devils value power greatly. If Rias can prove her power and leadership abilities before the marriage, she could end it. She had few real options to do just that though, considering her age and current power level. The only real option was to beat Riser in an unofficial rating match. Rating matches are a sign of a devil's personal power, and the power of their peerage. Defeating Riser would prove Rias was the more powerful devil, thus her opinion would trump Riser's in the mind of the devil community. It was the best option. The prospects of that occurring were at an all-time low though. Riser was older and more experienced than her. He had an entire peerage, 15 members. She had 4 total, one of which is useless currently. Including the kings, it was 16-4. Numbers don't decide a match, but they sure do help, and the numbers are currently against her. She doesn't even want to acknowledge that Riser is immortal at this point. No matter how she thinks about it, her chance of winning the match is 0%. No strategy she can come up with, no training they can do, no forbidden spell she could learn, nothing can alter that 0%. She needs more Peerage members to simply have the smallest chance of success. She was also running out of time. Riser was not known for his patience. Since she's had her evil piece set for over 2 years now, it was only a matter of time. Riser was going to run out of patience. He'd then pressure his father, who would pressure her father, who would then pressure her to have the marriage occur. Her brother had recently warned her Riser was tired of waiting. He was starting to complain to his father. She had maybe 6 months before she ran out of time, but more likely just 2 or 3 months. That was an incredibly small window to work with. She had thought Issei was the opportunity she was looking for. His sacred gear was so powerful that it could only be a Longinus, one of the 13 most powerful sacred gears in the world. A weapon that can kill a god. The idea of such a person going to her school had practically been fate in Rias' mind. Not that Issei's assistance alone would have been enough to guarantee a victory over Riser. Longinus may be powerful, but they don't start out that way. Their wielders' needs unlock such power. They need time, experience, training. It had still been enough to give Rias hope that she could beat Riser though. If Issei could gain even basic control over his Longinus, her chance of defeating Riser rose to 5%. 5% is abysmally low still, but Rias would take it over 0%, and even that small chance had now sunk through her grasp. Sona had stolen even that chance from her. Rias wanted to scream, rant, beat Sona to a pulp with her hands. She couldn't though. Sona had done nothing wrong. She was simply a scapegoat for Rias to blame for her own failure. She finally grumbled out, being patient and waiting seems to have come to bite me in the ass. Akeno somehow managed to hear, and couldn't help but ask, why did we wait? I mean, we've known about Issei for half a year. Why did you order us to wait? Rias looked nervous and embarrassed. She hesitantly explained, I figured the fallen angels in the town would eventually identify Issei as a Longinus holder as well. They would no doubt try to eliminate him. I figured I could resurrect him then. Akeno's eyebrows raised before she replied in a sly, but slightly disbelieving, voice, era. Was Bucho being manipulative, planning to use someone's death as a way to ensure their loyalty? Rias' head shot up and she quickly retorted, no. That isn't what I meant. Then what did you mean? Akeno immediately asked, confused by her king's unusually flustered behavior. She was also slightly glad Rias hadn't been trying to manipulate Issei. Rias had secured her entire current peerage by saving their lives, herself included. If she showed she was willing to let prospective peerage candidates walk to their deaths in order to gain their loyalty, it would cast a ray of suspicion on how she gained any of them. Rias once again showed clear hesitation in answering. After a few seconds of stammering, she looked away as she whispered while blushing heavily, it would have been awkward. Akeno blinked, having caught her words. She just didn't understand them. She quickly asked, what do you mean? Rias very clearly gathered up her courage, before clarifying while blushing more than Akeno had ever seen. It would have been awkward to explain to Issei about everything. All of you already knew about the supernatural before joining my peerage. I didn't really know how to explain to someone completely ignorant, so I figured the shock of finding out about fallen angels and being reincarnated would make it easier. Akeno just gaped. After nearly a minute just sitting there in disbelief, she managed to say softly, so the reason we waited for 6 months, the reason we lost the Longinus user is because you thought it would be awkward to explain the supernatural to him. Yes, idiot. I know, like seriously. You are an idiot. I know, like the most idiotic thing you have ever done. I know, you might have just made the biggest, and most idiotic, mistake of your entire life. I know, okay. Rias screamed, tears now gathering in her eyes. She then spun to look out the window, turning her back to Akeno. That quickly stopped any anger Akeno might have been feeling. Anything she was feeling, Rias was probably feeling twice as bad. This mistake might very well force Rias to marry Riser, who is well known for treating his peerage like a harem. Akeno would have to follow Rias in such a case, but Riser would have no right to touch her. Rias was not so lucky. She'd be his wife. Akeno couldn't help herself from sighing though. The pure imbecilic quality of Rias' reason to not approach Issei earlier was just too much. Rias was outgoing, had no shame, was friendly, and charming. To find she had been nervous about explaining the supernatural to Issei was something Akeno hadn't ever even considered. Thinking on it, she can see a bit why. Rias, and the entire Gremory family, consider their peerage to be their family. Trying to make the process of introducing a new member as smooth as possible was likely something she hadn't even needed to think about. It was automatic. The possibility of Issei rejecting her or entering denial, which is always possible when telling normal humans about the supernatural, had likely been a nightmare scenario for her. So she instead was willing to wait months in order to optimize the chance of such a thing not happening. Still didn't make it any less stupid though. Approaching Rias back, Akeno laid a comforting hand on her shoulder before saying, it's okay, Rias. I won't lie and say what you did wasn't stupid, but everyone is stupid once in a while. No need to beat yourself up over it. I may have just lost my only chance to marry a person I love because I was shy. That's a good reason to beat myself up about, Rias whispered, no doubt holding back tears. Akeno really didn't know how to respond to that, so she just hugged Rias softly. The best she could do was try and show Rias she was there for her, no matter how bad things look. After a few moments of this, Rias asked, "What should I do, Akeno?" Akeno blinked in shock before asking, "You're asking me? I don't see why not. I've done a pretty good job of botching things up. I'm a complete failure as a king. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have declared confidently that most of my peerage would have been filled by this point, that they'd all be well trained and powerful, ready to defeat Riser. Instead I have this," Rias stated in a bitter voice. She then gave a weak laugh, cracking halfway through due to her emotion. Akeno decided to ignore the possible insult. She knew Rias didn't mean it like that. Rias considered all of them her family, and loved them. It was the idea that she only had 4 peerage members, one that had to be sealed away for his own safety. Considering she had been preparing and planning for 2 years to eventually face Riser, her efforts have not borne much fruit. After a few seconds of weak sobs, Rias recovered enough to finish. "Seems like anyone can do better than me right now, and you are way better than a random person, so I don't see why not." Akeno nodded gravely. Rias had always been certain in her abilities, but this seems to have created a crack in her usual confidence. A crack that had likely been forming for months as the deadline with Riser approached. This incident was the last straw, so now she's looking around her for help, which is actually good. She's not giving up or trying to stand by herself. When weak, it's better to lean a bit on your friends. That's what they are for, after all. So Akeno led the now outright crying Rias back to her chair. She then pulled out a tissue and gently dabbed at her eyes. Thankfully Rias didn't wear mascara or makeup, so she didn't need to worry about that sort of mess. Once Rias' tears stopped flowing, Akeno stood and started to make 2 cups of tea. She then gave one to the hiccuping and shaking Rias before sitting opposite her with her own cup. She then waited till Rias took a few sips. The tea did its job in calming Rias down slightly. Placing her own tea down, Akeno started seriously. "If I am going to give you advice, then I am going to be completely honest, Rias. Right now, Sona has proven herself a far superior king than you." That made Rias flinch. Sure, she had been expecting something like that. Even asked for it. Still didn't make it any easier to hear. Sona was her rival, despite also being her friend. To hear that she had lost to her rival so bluntly was not a good feeling. Akeno continued on though, explaining, "It isn't due to your personal power or ability or anything. It's simply a matter of the method in which you both gathered your peerage. To be blunt, Rias, you did almost nothing. Myself, Koneko, Yuto, and Gasper. We all fell right into your lap by coincidence, and you simply took advantage. That seems to have colored your expectations though. You have been waiting for it to happen again. For a sacred gear holder, Yukai, devil, or whatever to fall into your lap. Even Issei. You knew about him, but it wasn't enough for him to go to our school. You wanted some perfect event, for him to be killed by the fallen angels, and you come to the rescue. You have been waiting for some big opportunity to fall into your lap. Now let's think about how Sona went about gathering a peerage. She didn't wait. She carefully evaluated the students in this school who had magical potential. She then recruited the ones with the most, resolving to train them up over time. She didn't wait for already competent candidates to appear. She calculated who could eventually become a competent peerage member, and then set about making them achieve that potential. While you waited for opportunities to appear, she actively worked to create her own opportunities. Thinking about it, her choice to recruit Issei was not only logical, but expected. To her, your choice to wait for a better opportunity to recruit him must have been infuriating. In her mind, if you weren't going to take advantage of this opportunity, she might as well. That she waited 6 months is actually the unexpected part. I would have guessed she'd have only given you half that time. So the answer to your earlier question about what you should do. You need to change your method, Rias. You can't wait for some hero or savior to appear. You have to work at improving your peerage. Put in a true effort, Akeno declared bluntly. She then elaborated, we'll use our familiars to scout out any possible talent. Anyone that has above average magical potential. 3 of our familiars in the school, and 1 searching the city for any sacred gear users or supernatural creatures. We review them all, and make a decision. We then recruit them. No delay. Rias nodded, but still argued, we don't have long before our match with Riser. We don't have time to properly train someone from scratch. We should focus on finding sacred gear users or those already with a proficient fighting level that are in the city. Didn't you listen to anything I just said, Rias? Akeno chastised with a frown. She then explained, there aren't any of those. Or so few, the chances of us finding them are low. Do you know why we were sent to this school, besides to fit in? It's because this is the place most likely to have sacred gear holders in this entire city. They don't last long, Rias. They are either killed, or recruited by someone. Don't expect to find some random, middle-aged shopkeeper with a sacred gear. Stop expecting someone like that to appear. We have no choice but to look for less appealing options. Rias lowered her head slightly at the brutal summarization. She still managed to comment, I just don't think we have enough time to train a regular person to the point they'd be useful. Then I'll whip them into shape if I have to, Akeno claimed with a scary look on her face, for once not thinking of receiving pleasure at such an action. She then added, we don't need them truly powerful. Not to the level of Yuto or Koneko. As long as they are semi-competent, they'll fill up our numbers. The less risers Peerage outnumber us, the better our chances. Our current members will just have to fill the gap in skill and experience. Rias still wasn't sure, but finally gave her assent. Even if the chance of such a plan succeeding were low, it might be her only chance. A week later, Rias stood looking out the window as she commented, I guess it was only as a matter of time. Naruto-san has been going around pranking clubs since he arrived. He's already passed over us several times, since he probably didn't even know this club exists. He'd eventually find out and hit us, and he seems to have targeted us as individuals instead of a group since there are so few of us. It is a weird coincidence though considering what we were going to talk about today. Rias then turned to look at the two others in the room with her, Yuto and Akeno. Naruto had somehow managed to dye Rias' uniform a vibrant red, which raised all sorts of questions. The only chance he had was when she took a shower, and she had placed the uniform within her sight. How the hell did he take it, and dye it all before she even saw him? She didn't even care that he no doubt saw her while she was showering. He'd also managed to write in big, bold letters across the front, where her breasts were, Red Hot Mama. She didn't mind that much, since all of Naruto's prank dyes and paints dissolved once washed. So they only lasted a day. Her biggest complaint was that her entirely red clothing along with her red hair created a bit too much red, and her rampant curiosity over how he did it. I don't really mind either. He's done every other club at least twice by now. I did almost get mauled though, Yuto claimed while laughing awkwardly. Naruto had somehow managed to place a crown and a cape on him, both of which he couldn't remove for some reason. Then on his shirt were the words, Kiss the Prince. Needless to say, his face was decorated with lipstick marks from all the girls who were all too happy to oblige. I had fun, Akeno announced with a small smile on her face. Naruto had somehow managed to make her grab two things that she similarly couldn't stop holding. One was a whip, the other was the handle of leash, with a dog on the other end. Where Naruto got the dog was a mystery. On her shirt was a larger message than Rias or Yuto. It said, anyone want to switch places with the dog? I'm looking for a new pet/slave. Rias just sweat dropped at the message, and Akeno's apparent enjoyment of the prank. She quickly asked, aren't you upset about Naruto, ruining your image by insisting you are a sadist? I might have been, since I've made such an effort to hide my sadism to not make us stand out too much, but this was entertaining. And illuminating. Look at this, Akeno informed them as she managed to use a loose pinky to hold up a paper. Rias frowned and grabbed it. The frown only grew as she skimmed it. She then commented in confusion, I don't get it. What is this? It's just a list of names, addresses, and phone numbers. Akeno chuckled before revealing, that is a list of people willing to become my pet or slave. All it took was walking around like this for 3 hours, and I got a total of 64 males and 17 females. She then grew thoughtful before asking, think I should walk around town like this? Just to see how many are willing. I admit to being curious. Maybe I can break 1,000 in a week. Rias and Yuto both sweat dropped. Rias quickly answered, no. Just no. That is not recommended. Ah, Akeno groaned with a pout. Rias just shook her head before looking at the door to the bedroom her and Akeno usually sleep. She then asked, why is Koneko hiding in there? Yuto smiled uneasily before telling her, I'm guessing it has to do with the prank. I heard she ended up skipping school after being pranked, but I did hear rumors of what Uzumaki-san did. Curious, Rias called out, Koneko. You need to come out now. No, Rias blinked in surprise. Koneko was usually one of the more well-behaved of her servants. She then frowned before ordering, Koneko. Come out now. Don't wanna. Now Rias developed a tick mark. She quickly barked out, Koneko Tuja. As your king, I order you to leave that room this instant. There was a pause, but the door eventually slowly opened. Koneko then walked out like she was heading to her death. A small blush was on her cheeks, and a near imperceptible pout was on her face. Once the three saw her, they all couldn't help but burst out laughing. As expected, Koneko had 2 kitten ears on her head and a tail coming from her tailbone. The colors even matched her hair. That wasn't the part that made them crack up though. It was the words on her shirt. Pet the. Koneko pouted even more when they started laughing. Her eyes grew sharp as she muttered, I don't like this Uzumaki. I suggest we get revenge. Plant magical traps in his home. Yuto quickly interrupted between his remaining chuckles, not recommended. The baseball club once tried that after he painted all their baseball to look like old, wrinkly testicles. Not only could they not get in, but he then got revenge. He put laxatives in their water right before a game they couldn't leave the field that was truly the messiest game in the history of baseball. Akeno chuckled at the story before moving to look out the window. She then told them, plus, it looks like the other students are trying to get revenge for us. The group moved over to see Naruto running from a group 10 times larger than usual, apparently pranking the 2 great ladies of Koa Academy, the school prince, and the person who many consider to be the school mascot was too much for many of the students. He was still cackling like a maniac though, so it was doubtful they'd catch him. The fact that he could successfully evade several hundred students chasing him at once is rather impressive though. Rias just sighed before announcing, okay, that's enough of that. We need to focus on what the topic of today's meeting is supposed to be about. The group grew serious and all moved their usual spots. Koneko on the couch, Yuto beside her, Rias in her chair, and Akeno just behind Rias. Rias leaned forward and picked up a small pile of folders that were on her desk. She then told them, "You no doubt realize all this, but I'll reiterate. Haida Issei became a part of Sona's Peerage roughly a week ago. So we have switched to a different method of gaining allies that Akeno recommended to me. Our familiars have been busy scouting out the potential in our school, with one focusing on the rest of the city. The results were discouraging." She indicated the file before continuing. "In our school we have 4 individuals who appear to have a potential high enough to even consider. In the city, we found none. Of the 4, only one has a good chance of being sufficiently powerful in time for the rating match against Riser, Uzumaki Naruto." Opinions? The group was slightly surprised by her asking for their opinions, but quickly adjusted. They each took one of the folders to read it. Yuto was the first to speak by commenting. His magic reserve seemed to be growing rapidly. While still nothing to be overly impressed by, they are 45% higher than our estimates were when we first noticed him a month ago. High rate of growth. His physical stats are very impressive. His stealth and trapping skills are exemplary based on his pranks. Also indicates he probably knows a form of magic. His personality is also agreeable, despite his fondness for pranks. Nothing we can't deal with. I say we go for it. Koneko soon added simply, "Don't like his pranks, but little choice." Yes. Akeno thought for several moments before declaring with a firm nod, "We need help. Naruto seems the best choice at this point." My answer is obvious. Rias just sighed before stating, "Then it is unanimous. Yuto, bring him here after school tomorrow. We'll talk to him then." Next day, "You do know this random demand for me to accompany you to your club room is rather suspect since I pranked you guys yesterday, right?" Yuto just sweat dropped at Naruto's comment. The renowned prankster of Ko sure did not make it easy. In fact, he seems to have gone out of his way to make it difficult for him. Apparently Naruto was the kind of person that if someone told him to go right, he would go left just to spite them. Basically, he really didn't like being told what to do. Yuto demanding, if in a very polite way, Naruto to follow him counted as such. Yuto had to deal with Naruto randomly disappearing on him, talking about inane things, and voicing his reluctance to go visit the occult research club. Naruto even subtle managed to guide Yuto into the girls' locker room. That had not been pretty for Yuto, and had left Yuto baffled on how the bloody hell Naruto had managed it. What would ordinarily have been a 5-minute walk had turned into a 40-minute struggle. Yuto had not come out of it unscathed. His clothes were torn, his face was once again covered in lipstick prints, his hair was frazzled, and his eyes were fixed on Naruto with a manic intensity. He was not going to allow Naruto to disappear on him again. Overall, Yuto was a step away from cracking. 40 minutes dealing with an annoyed Naruto had left his sanity frayed. Sighing, Yuto told him in his best reassuring tone, "Don't worry. We don't care about your pranks, okay? Maybe Koneko does, but only her." Naruto didn't seem very reassured. He just raised an eyebrow at the shorter blonde before informing him, "Okay, but I'll still warn you. I have a dozen extra strength stink pellets on me, and I will not hesitate to break your window by jumping out of it if the situation turns ugly. I am also not responsible for any rubber chicken-induced trauma." "Okay. I understand," Yuto claimed with another sweat drop. Naruto may be a nice guy most of the time, but damn if he isn't incredibly weird when he wants to be. How can a rubber chicken be used to traumatize someone? Never mind. He really doesn't want to know. Naruto stepped in without hesitation when Yuto opened the door. He may have made it troublesome for him, but Naruto at least had to respect how determined Yuto was to bring him here. Must mean something serious. Probably revenge for his prank, despite Yuto's reassurances. Naruto wasn't worried though. He had 3 rubber chickens on him right now, and he knew how to use them. Naruto quickly scanned the room. The Occult Research Club's room was pretty large, decorated in a style Naruto had briefly been told about. Victory or Victoria style or something. He can't remember. It was a wood-paneled room a bit different than the traditional Japanese work Naruto is more used to. The room was also lighted by candles instead of electric lights, giving the room a darker or more mysterious feel to it. The main seating arrangements revolved around 2 couches on either side of a decent-sized table. There was also an official-looking desk beyond that, just before the far wall. There was a set of doors to another room. In the far corner was what looked to be a shower. Okay, kind of weird, but Naruto isn't a person that can criticize other people for being weird. Naruto's eyes were quickly drawn to the person sitting on one of the couches. A petite build and silver hair, Naruto easily recognized her. It also helped that he pranked her yesterday. A lowly type that many consider to be a mascot of the school. Koneko Yuju. Petite, with interesting silver hair and yellowish hazel eyes that always made Naruto picture a kitten, something she clearly remembered by the way she was glaring at him. Naruto was able to shrug off her weak killing intent. He then leaned closer to Yuto with a gleeful grin before whispering loud enough for Koneko to hear, "That definitely needs a good rub." So stressed and irritable. Nothing a good long petting session won't relieve though. Kaneko's eye started twitching as her killing intent doubled in intensity. Yuto tried to hide his laugh behind a cough, but failed rather dismally. Naruto pressed on by saying, Maybe I should do it myself. Animals love my magical hands, and I give great massages. It could be an orgasmic experience. Yuto slapped a hand over his mouth to muffle his laughter while Koneko was now blushing while giving him a look that showed she dearly wished he would spontaneously combust. What is going on here? All I heard was orgasmic experience. Seems you three got really friendly in such a short time, a voice spoke up before Naruto could continue antagonizing Koneko. The three turned to see Akeno walk through one of the doors. She looked at Naruto before giving a polite smile and saying as she approached, "Good to meet you, Uzumaki-san. I am Himejima Akeno, vice president of this." Akeno stopped talking when Naruto suddenly took a step backwards. Eyebrows scrunched in confusion, Akeno took another step forward. Naruto reacted by taking another step back. Tilting her head in wonder, Akeno took 2 steps forward. Naruto retreated 2 steps. "Ofufu, how interesting," Akeno commented, her smile widening in glee. She suddenly started walking towards Naruto. Naruto reacted going backwards, matching her steps perfectly. Akeno's smile widened even more as she sped up to a fast walk. Naruto once again matched her movements. She quickly started doing her best to approach Naruto, only restricting herself by not breaking into a run. Naruto quickly started having trouble. The room was decently sized, but not enough to really maneuver. More than a few times he had to make a quick dash to escape a corner. Akeno quickly started closing the gap though by strategically moving to box him in. Every step she gained towards him caused him to pale and start sweating more. He was saved by someone commenting, "As entertaining as watching this little game is, I think it needs to end." Naruto took a breath of relief when Akeno stopped to reply, "Ah, Bucho. We were just having a bit of fun. Wouldn't you agree, Uzumaki-kun?" Naruto immediately dashed to move behind Rias, using her as a barrier between him and Akeno. He then growled out, "I don't know why I'm here, but my first demand to staying here is that the sadist stays a minimum of 5 feet from me. But I was so looking forward to engaging in skinship with you, Uzumaki-kun." "You know, deep and out relationship," Akeno replied, thoroughly enjoying Naruto's apparent fear of her. "Hell no. I have a feeling engaging in skinship with you would result in me losing some skin," Naruto retorted seriously. "Can you not use me as a shield, Naruto-san?" Rias requested while sweat dropping. This was no doubt one of the weirdest situations she's ever been in. Literally in the middle of it, but completely disregarded. Her pride was actually rather stung by it. She was being overlooked completely. Naruto blinked in surprise, having forgotten just who he was using as a shield, but he still managed to reply with, "As long as the sadist complies with my demand." Akeno really didn't want to, but Rias sent her a scathing look immediately. So she just let out a disappointed sigh and announced, "Understood. I shall not get within 5 feet of you, Uzumaki-san, for now at least." That was enough for Naruto to let go of Rias. The young devil straightened her clothes as she tried to regain her composure. That was not how she expected this meeting to start. Once she was suitably collected, she turned to Naruto and said, "Thank you for coming, Uzumaki-san. If this is about revenge for the prank, I warn you. I am armed with 3 rubber chickens," Naruto immediately declared. Rias blinked before asking the only thing she could think of. "What?" "Nothing, just messing with you guys. It's really fun to watch people gape when you say something totally random and nonsensical," Naruto stated with a wide grin as he put his hands behind his head. "Okay," Rias replied, once again losing her composure due to Naruto's pure randomness. This time when she recovered, she felt some genuine annoyance. She stressed enough without her potential peerage member doing his best to fuck with them, so she requested in a clearly strained voice, "Can you please be serious, Naruto-san? I have something very serious to talk to you about." Naruto tilted his head in response, his eyes raking over her form with an intensity that honestly made her feel a bit uncomfortable. It wasn't even perverted or anything, she was well used to perverts looking at her. She didn't even really care. Something about Naruto's gaze though was powerful. There was power in it. Authority. Experience. It made her feel like she had suddenly lost control. No, she never had control here. Even if Naruto was in her club room. It was a disconcerting revelation. The thought of her desperate situation was enough for her to not completely back down though. She couldn't give up here without a fight. Her freedom was on the line. Taking note of Ria's sudden change in demeanor, Naruto also observed that she still didn't back down. It impressed him slightly. He was sending spiritual pressure at her, so her ability to not fold under it spoke highly of her mettle. Chakra is partly composed of spiritual energy, so it can be used to convey emotions or urges. Killing intent is the most common use, quite literally just using chakra to communicate a person's desire/ability to kill another. Applying spiritual pressure is a more advanced technique, one Naruto preferred to use. Naruto didn't have any true killing intent in him, so he used a different method for intimidation. Spiritual pressure is, put simply, using chakra to try and force your will upon another. This allows a near instantaneous battle of wills to determine relationship, who is in control, who has greater authority, who is dominant, etc. A victim can resist if they have the necessary force of will and character. That was rarely a problem for Naruto though. Naruto's firm and unwavering will was one of his hallmarks. He was also a natural at exerting spiritual pressure. Jiraiya had claimed that Naruto's amazing track record at convincing his enemies is partly due to his spiritual pressure. Naruto apparently subconsciously used spiritual pressure when his emotions ran high, so he uses spiritual pressure to dominate his opponents mentally while simultaneously imposing his dominance physically. It was a two-pronged attack that allowed Naruto to alter the mindsets of plenty of his enemies. He could still use it despite his weakened state. For Rias to be able to partly resist it is impressive, even if Naruto was holding back a good deal. Letting up on the spiritual pressure, Naruto decided to listen to her. This must be serious. Guess he'll have to let up on the messing around. He was only doing that because of his own anxiety anyway. Naruto was far from an accomplished censor, but even he could tell that this group was far more powerful than most of the humans in this world. He couldn't get an exact estimate of their power levels, but he didn't really need to. He had been dragged to an out-of-the-way building, where he was now surrounded by 4 people of unknown strength and intent. Now Naruto wouldn't consider himself paranoid like many ninjas, but even he was feeling a bit nervous right now. He was sure he could escape if they proved to have insidious intentions, but he might have to out himself as not being a normal person in the process. He hoped to avoid that. His apprehension had caused him to act out to try and gain more control of the situation. His over-the-top antics and randomness interrupted their flow, and he used spiritual pressure to gain a psychological edge over Rias, the apparent leader. That allowed him to gain a better measure of her as well. He was still far from comfortable, but he was more comfortable than when he entered. He still didn't detect any malicious intent, so he doubted they were going to attack him. Naruto was also confident in his ability to avoid being pranked as revenge, so Naruto grew serious as he nodded at Rias. She seemed happy at the shift, and motioned for him to sit on one of the couches. Naruto decided to do the smart thing for once, and not antagonize Koneko by sitting next to her. Akeno then took the spot next to Koneko, since she couldn't sit by Naruto due to his earlier demand. Kiba then took the spot next to Naruto. Rias moved in front of her desk, sitting on the top instead of sitting in her chair, likely to be closer to the group. Crossing her arms, Rias smiled at Naruto as she began speaking in a pleasant voice. "Welcome to the Occult Research Club, Naruto-san. Thank you for coming." Naruto raised an eyebrow before replying coolly, "No offense, but I wasn't exactly eager. Kiba-san worked so hard though, I felt I had to at least listen to what you wanted. He did almost get raped on the way over here after all." The group's sweat dropped at his words, while Yuto shivered as he remembered when Naruto managed to guide him into the girls' locker room. "Yeah, he did almost get raped." He finally commented in a strained tone, "It is fine, Uzumaki-san. I was careless." "Yes, regardless. I thank you for coming. As I said before, I have something very important to talk about. Something life-changing," Rias explained carefully, having gone over what to say with Akeno before this. Naruto didn't say anything, just curiously waiting for her to continue. Taking a deep breath, Rias continued, "The Occult Research Club is a mere facade. Nothing more than a hobby. A cover. I'll be frank, Naruto-san, everyone in this club is a devil." Her declaration was punctuated by everyone present, besides Naruto of course, unfurling black wings that resembled bat wings. Naruto managed to keep his cool. The only sign of his surprise was a brief widening of his eyes and a tensing of his muscles. That was all that Rias needed to conclude. "You already know about the supernatural world. We suspected as much." "How much do you know?" "Let's just assume that I only know that the supernatural exists. What is the point in you admitting all this to me?" Naruto replied carefully, ready to act if they attack. He still can't detect any malicious intent, but he doesn't see why they are telling him this. There must be a motive. "I see. I expected more, but this changes nothing. As for my motive, you must first understand what are referred to as the 3 factions, Rias stated with a small frown on her face at his apparent ignorance. It was quickly removed before she clarified for him. The 3 factions are the devils, fallen angels, and angels. They are also sometimes referred to as the Bible factions. Long ago there was the Great War. Devils reside in the underworld, referred to by humans as hell. Fallen angels are angels that have been cast down to the underworld due to their wicked nature, with their wings turning black as a sign and punishment. There they did their best to destroy us devils to gain dominance of the underworld, a battle that has been raging since medieval times. Then there are normal angels, the servants of the biblical God. On the biblical God's orders, they do their best to eliminate both devils and fallen angels. This has created a 3-way standoff. The Great War consists of the time period of the heaviest fighting. It ended in a stalemate. Although still in conflict, all 3 sides had suffered such heavy casualties that none of the 3 sides could continue the fight, or they would be destroyed. This has resulted in a temporary state of peace. While there is no true peace between the 3 factions, there has been no outright battle, so I guess it counts. Rias then pulled out a chess set, to Naruto's confusion. He quickly noted that there was only one side, with the pieces glowing red. The set was also missing a bishop, knight, rook, queen, and king. Rias quickly continued, "The massive losses we devils suffered meant that we could not repopulate our numbers without mass breeding. Thus, the evil peace system was created. This system allows a high-class devils to reincarnate members of other species as devils. That reincarnated devil is then considered part of that devil's peerage. The evil pieces are based on chess. The high-class devil, myself in this case, represents the king. Everyone I choose to resurrect as a devil is represented by the piece used to resurrect them. The entire set consists of 8 pawns, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, and 1 queen. As you can see, I am missing a queen, knight, rook, and bishop. Akeno is my queen. Koneko is my rook. Yuto is my knight. My bishop is currently incapacitated. So am I right to guess you wish to have me join your peerage? Naruto questioned blankly, hiding his emotions. Rias nodded before clarifying for him, yes, that is why I called you here. We have ascertained that you are a good candidate. You have above-average magic reserves for a human, and your physical specs are high. Naruto just stared at her blankly for a few seconds, before he shrugged and announced with a wide smile on his face, sure. I don't see why not. Now it was Rias' turn to stare. She finally managed to stop gaping to demand in disbelief, that's it? Yep. That's it, Naruto claimed with a nonchalant shrug. Seeing everyone staring at him, he added, well, truthfully I was just waiting for something like this to happen. The person who sent me to Ko said it was so that I could aid someone that is of paramount importance. She also said it would be clear who when the time comes. This seems pretty darn clear. You were went here? By who? Rias questioned in interest, a bit befuddled by this new piece of information. Naruto hesitated at that. Raising a hand to rub the back of his head in embarrassment, Naruto told her awkwardly, sorry, but I can't tell you that. She said to not reveal my connection to her until the link is formed. Seeing Rias did not look happy about that, Naruto waved his hands as he added, don't worry. It isn't anything that would be harmful to you. She just seems to value her privacy, and didn't want me to blab about it to just anyone. Rias clearly still wasn't pleased as she asked, but you will tell me after I reincarnate you? Thinking for a moment, Naruto nodded while saying yes. I'm pretty sure that is what she meant by the link. Apparently deciding that was the best she was getting, Rias decided to be content with that. She quickly grabbed 3 pieces from the chessboard before explaining, alright, then the final step is to decide what piece you want to be. Usually it would be my decision as king, but I'll let you decide. I still don't really know anything about your abilities, so you'll probably be able to choose what suits your fighting style and abilities best. Your 3 options are to be a rook, knight, or bishop. Tilting his head, Naruto quickly asked, and what are the differences? We'll go over all of them for the sake of simplicity. A pawn is the most basic unit. A pawn piece receives no special benefits besides the normal advantages of a devil. What a pawn does have is the special ability of promotion. Like in real chess, if a pawn enters deep into enemy territory it can be promoted to any other piece besides the king. Next is the bishop. A bishop is worth 3 pawns. Bishops gain enhanced magic reserves, thus are typically meant to be magical specialists. Their main weakness is that usually a bishop doesn't have much close combat skill, and thus must stay at a range to be effective. The knight is also worth 3 pawns. Knights gain enhanced speed and agility, allowing them to perform high-speed maneuvers and attacks. Their main weakness is their weak defense. Their offense isn't supplemented either, so most knights are weapons specialists to compensate. A rook is worth 5 pawns. Rooks gain enhanced offensive and defensive capabilities. Rooks usually act as tanks in battle. Their main weakness is that they don't have any speed enhancements, so hitting faster opponents can be difficult. Then there is the queen. A queen is worth 9 pawns. The queen is a combination of all 3 bishops, knights, and rooks. This makes the queen the most balanced and powerful piece. Queens typically use spells, but there are those who prefer close-quarter combat. Finally we come to the king. The king is the most important piece. It is the duty of the peerage to protect the king above all else. Kings don't receive any special bonuses besides the ability to form a peerage. Naruto nodded as he absorbed the information. He quickly asked, I know why king and queen are not an option for me, but why wasn't I given the option to be a pawn? While seemingly the weakest unit, their ability to promote to any piece seems to make the pawn the most adaptable piece for any situation. Rias nodded, pleasantly surprised at his insight, before explaining, true, a pawn can make or break a battle if used properly, but they are also dreadfully vulnerable before they are promoted. Thus a pawn needs to have incredibly high base stats to compensate. You are not at that level currently, and we don't have the time to train you up to such a level. An event is soon approaching where I'll need you as strong as possible. Raising an eyebrow at the event part, Naruto decided to just accept it for now. He instead looked back towards the 3 pieces Rias was holding: magic reserves, speed, or strength and defense. Naruto eventually started slowly and carefully. I am tempted to do the bishop to gain the chakra reserves I desperately need, but I choose the rook. Kaneko's eyes focused on him. When he mentioned chakra, he noted in the back of his head. Everyone looked interested at his choice, and Rias quickly asked, mind explaining why? Not at all, Naruto replied with a grin before clarifying, right now I am in a dreadfully weakened state. Nearly all of my ninjutsu techniques are unusable to me right now due to my current chakra reserves. The bishop would have alleviated that problem somewhat, but I doubt to the degree I would need. I'll probably have to do it the slow and steady way on that front. With ninjutsu out, I'll have to rely on taijutsu, or hand-to-hand. On that front, I'm more of the kind of fighter that crashes into someone and hope I can stand back up. Rias' sweat dropped at his explanation before repeating in disbelief, crash into someone and hope you can stand back up. Naruto shrugged at her disbelief before explaining, pretty much. In my old state the number of people who could compete with me in pure power could be counted on one hand, so I used that. I was never one for running around, jumping in and out or dodging. That's what shadow clones are for after all. Absorbing absurd amount of damage in his place, Naruto then continued, I was durable as fuck, and never ran out of stamina. So I would practically always win if I managed to force my opponent to exchange hit for hit with me, or them getting 10 hits and Naruto getting 1. Naruto can't even count the number of times an opponent was throwing him around for 10 minutes before losing when Naruto finally managed to return the favor. Naruto had been ready, willing, and capable of taking whatever his opponent dished out as long as he got the opportunity to land his own shot. So the rook fits my fighting style far better than the knight, would enable me to take more punishment, and would increase my knockout power to help take advantage of that one opportunity that always presents itself. Rias nodded in understanding, or at least pretended to understand. She then questioned, you keep mentioning that you are in a weakened state. What do you mean? Chuckling awkwardly, Naruto informed her, I'll explain everything after this. It is kind of a long story, so we should finish this business up first. Rias assented to that with a reluctant nod. She then ordered him, lay on your back so I can commence the ceremony to reincarnate you as a devil. Naruto nodded in understanding. He gently laid himself down against the ground and waited. Rias moved to stand above him, incidentally giving him a prime view of her rather lacy panties. He ignored it, well mostly ignored it, in favor of watching as she crouched to place the rook piece on his chest. A red circle of something immediately formed around Naruto, as Rias started chanting. I command thee, Uzumaki Naruto, on my name of Rias Gremory, become my servant. Return to this land as a devil. You shall lead a new life with great joy as my rook. Naruto could only describe the sensation of the rook sinking into his chest as feeling like ice water was being inserted into his veins. The feeling was even more intense around his chakra coils. It wasn't truly unpleasant, but not pleasant either. It was just an intense, neutral feeling. Then, it disappeared within an instant as soon as Rias finished her chanting. Naruto took a few deep breaths since it had been a pretty intense process. He quickly recovered though, and stood up. Clenching his hands and hopping lightly on his feet, he commented, I feel lighter. Yuto was the one to respond as he patted Naruto's shoulder in congratulations, that is natural. Devils are fundamentally stronger than humans. Muscles are stronger, bones are more durable and light, overall more durable and resistant, and a greater healing factor. It may take a while to adjust completely, especially since you are a rook. Learning to properly adjust and compensate for your raw strength will take a while, I guess, Naruto replied noncommittally. While somewhat different from chakra enhancement due to it being a physical change instead of a magical one, Naruto was still confident he could adapt after a good workout or two. He was also rather distracted due to trying to properly judge the increase in his chakra coils. He was currently at the level of a low-level chunin. It was increased from the mid-level genin he had been at before. Not as much of an increase as he had been hoping for though. This level of chakra was truly pathetic to Naruto. He likely had more chakra than this when he was 4. It also limited him a lot. Naruto hadn't ever bothered to learn E, D, or C rank techniques, besides the Academy 3, because it had literally been easier to learn B or A rank techniques due to his chakra reserves. Right now he could only use the transformation, replacement, temporary paralysis, and the transparent escape techniques. Those are literally the only techniques Naruto knows that are below B rank. He isn't even that familiar with any of them either. So Naruto's ninjutsu abilities, his bread and butter, is almost completely sidelined. He can't even use a single shadow clone till he gains the chakra capacity of a high-level chunin. Welcome to the family, Naruto-kun, Rias interrupted his thoughts by saying. Naruto looked at her with surprise before commenting, family? No offense, but I thought we were your servants. Akeno was the one to answer him, although Naruto did take a step back to keep a 5-foot distance between them. That might be the case for most peerages, but Bucho here is a member of the Gremory clan. They are renowned for their extraordinary affection for devils. They view their servants as friends and servants. That's certainly better than being a servant, Naruto claimed while giving Rias a warm smile at the thought. Rias blushed slightly at the attention, but then grew serious as she said, now, usually we would do our best to familiarize yourself with any information you would need to know as a devil. I believe you owe me an explanation though. Naruto nodded in understanding, and quickly announced that I do. I suggest getting comfortable because it is a long story. Everyone nodded and sat down in their respective spots. They all then looked at him, content to wait for him to start. Naruto appreciated that, and took a few moments to think on how to start. He finally declared coolly, the first thing you should know is that I am from a different world. A different world? Rias repeated incredulously. She then raised an eyebrow as she asked, you mean you come from the underworld? No. I mean an entirely different world. A world that is typically impossible to travel to from here, Naruto answered while shaking his head. He then started hesitantly, in my world, humans were capable of wielding power that highly resembles magic through the use of chakra. The greatest examples of this were ninjas, soldiers of the hidden villages. I was a ninja as well. You don't need to know much else, but you do need to know that we were engaged in a war. All the hidden villages teamed up to battle a madman. The focus of the war was to prevent him from gaining the power to enact a plan to place the entire world in an illusion by obtaining and harnessing the power of a primordial god. His last words caused both Rias and Akeno to gape before Akeno asked in shock, "Did you just say a primordial god?" "Yes," Naruto answered seriously. With both Rias and Akeno in shock, Yuto and Koneko were still left confused. Yuto quickly asked politely, "I'm sorry, but can anyone tell me why that is so serious?" Rias looked at Akeno meaningfully. Akeno nodded and turned towards the two before explaining, "You both know that gods and Buddhas exist. That is a fact. You can think of them as the weak knockoffs of a primordial god, born from the fragments of its energy." That caused both Yuto and Koneko to gape as well. Rias nodded at their expressions before elaborating, "The existence of primordial gods have always been mere conjecture, since any that existed in this world have long since died. Put simply, primordial gods are the beginning of everything. It is theorized that primordial gods are the beings responsible for the creations of all worlds. Their power is thought to be infinite and limitless. Even they are not immortal though. Eventually they age and die. Their energy then dissipates, eventually birthing the gods or Buddhas that currently exist." "Huh, I didn't know that," Naruto commented in interest. "Then are you sure that you are talking about a true primordial god and not just a regular god?" Rias asked quickly. "I'm sure. Kurama told me that the Jubi was a primordial god, and that it was responsible for the creation of our whole world. Even said that it could destroy our world as well. He would know. Plus, the person that rescued me on this side said that she sensed remnants of a primordial god on me," Naruto immediately replied with certainty clear in his voice. Rias shook her head as she considered the implications. She finally managed to tell him, "Then your world must have been incredibly young for a primordial god to still live." With Rias still looking to be in shock or denial, Yuto interrupted by announcing, "I'm sure we can talk about this more another time. How about you continue your story, Uzumaki-san?" Naruto nodded in agreement and explained, "Uchiha Madara, the man I said earlier, planned to become the Jinchuriki of the Jubi. He would then use its power to cast an illusion over the entire world, using the moon as a medium. I'm sorry, Naruto-san, but I simply can't believe a human, no matter how powerful, could control a primordial god. The very concept is illogical. Primordial beings are those responsible for creating entire worlds. For creating humans, their very existence is a level humans cannot even comprehend, let alone match," Rias immediately argued. "You might be underestimating just how freakishly strong Madara was. Madara had managed to unlock the Rinnegan, the legendary eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. He had been capable of pulling giant meteors from the sky, growing entire forests in seconds, creating a mountain-sized samurai of pure energy, and throwing around 9 mountain-sized animals just by looking at them. I hate the man, but even I can't deny he was a freaking badass," Naruto retorted, shivering as he remembered just how ridiculously powerful Madara was even before becoming the Jubi Jinchuriki. All of them were now looking at him in disbelief. Koneko finally asked bluntly, "Are you high?" Naruto just deadpanned in her direction. Rias managed to say in confusion, "I am really lost here. You mentioned something about a Rinnegan." "Yes. The Rinnegan is an ocular bloodline that was said to have been possessed by the Sage of Six Paths, characterized by the entirely purple coloring and ripple pattern. The ultimate Dijutsu," Naruto told them in exasperation. "What's a Dijutsu? And who is the Sage of Six Paths?" Naruto let out an annoyed groan. Trying to explain the clusterfuck that was the Fourth Shinobi World War to people completely ignorant was not easy in the least. Naruto finally straightened and started in an annoyed tone, "Okay, I'm going to start from the very beginning. There used to be a massive tree in my world thousands of years ago. It was called the God Tree, or the Shinju. One day, a princess, Kaigai Okatsuchi or some weird name like that, decided to eat a fruit from the tree in an attempt to gain the power to stop a war that was going on. It worked, and she managed to stop the war with her godlike powers. The Shinju sensed the theft of its fruit and power though. The tree turned into a massive beast with 10 tails, the Jubi. The Jubi had no intelligence, and only one purpose. Reclaim the power that was stolen from it. It was a force of nature, razing everything to the ground in its mindless search to reclaim its chakra. Until it was stopped by a man. The princess had apparently died due to the intense power, but she had given birth to a son, Hagoromo or whatever. I'll just call him the Sage of Six Paths from now on, since I hate his real name. The sage had been born with power surpassing even his mother, the first human to be born with chakra. He soon grew up and confronted the Jubi. He defeated the Jubi in battle, and then sealed it inside his body. Using its power, he became powerful as a god. He then gifted and taught other humans how to use chakra. He ended up having children that would go on to found 2 separate ninja clans. The Senju and the Uchiha. The Senju inherited the sage's strong body, and the Uchiha inherited his mystical eyes. Madara was an Uchiha. He managed to unlock the Rinnegan by infusing the DNA of a powerful Senju into his body. In that way he gained the ability to control the Jubi just like the sage did. Naruto took several deep breaths after the short story. No one spoke for several seconds after he finished. Koneko was the one to break it by deadpanning. That makes no sense. A woman ate a fruit to become a god, which caused the tree to turn into a giant monster, and then it was defeated and absorbed by the woman's son. How high were you when you thought up that lie? I'm not lying. I know it's messed up, but it is true, Naruto exclaimed in annoyance. Seriously, he only learned this like an hour before he came to this world. It was just as ridiculous to him, but Madara didn't seem like a liar. Delusional megalomaniac, sure. Liar, not really. No, it makes perfect sense, Rias claimed while in deep thought. Naruto looked at her skeptically before questioning doubtfully. It does? Yes, it does, Rias claimed with a firm nod. She then looked at Naruto before demanding, were there any other gods in your world that you know of? Shrugging, Naruto informed her, yeah, I think. Ninjas aren't very religious, but I know for certain of at least one god. The death god, the Shinigami. I thought so, Rias said with a satisfied nod. Seeing everyone looking at her curiously, she quickly explained, it does make sense if you think about it. I believe the Jubi or Shinju or whatever you want to call it, was at the very final stage of its life. It was dying. So it assumed the form of the Shinju. Instead of absorbing nutrients from the ground like a normal tree, it instead likely used this form to pump its energy throughout the planet, laying the groundwork for later gods to come into being. It was interrupted partway through though. The princess stole part of its energy by eating the fruit. Losing part of its power like that must have entered a self-defense mechanism, you could say. It changed into a different form to regain that power. Kagaya couldn't make full use of that energy, but her son could because he had been exposed to and absorbed the energy as a fetus. His body adapted to utilize it to its fullest. This Rinnegan was probably just a physical manifestation of his ability to use a divine energy. It also explains why he could successfully subdue the Jubi. He was capable of using its own power. He had literally adapted to use its energy, thus absorbing it would be a simple affair. Since the Jubi had no intelligence of its own, his own will was able to control it. He could have been considered a mini-Jubi if you will, since he could control its power, and he then in essence became the Jubi after absorbing it. This is still only possible because the Jubi was near the end of its life. I also suspect the process of pumping it throughout the planet was near finished. Regular gods are born from the fragments of primordial gods. That gods existed in your world indicates a vast majority of its energy was already gone by the time the princess stole part of its power. So not only was the Jubi a mindless husk of the primordial god without most of its original power, but it was also going against a person specifically adapted to use its power. No wonder it could be controlled so easily. Then when the sage had children, each inherited half of the traits used to control the Jubi. Although I suspect he gifted your people with chakra by splitting a smaller amount of the Jubi's energy among your people. I'm guessing that's why your species could apparently become so powerful. A small bit, but less than what his descendants got. Once the two halves of the traits his descendants gained were reunited, in this Madara person, he gained the exact same ability to control the Jubi. Once again, a sentient being adapted to use its chakra going up against a mindless husk with power but no control or will. The result is obvious. The sentient being will absorb and gain control of the husk's power. Akeno tilted her head as she considered that. She then nodded and commented, that makes sense. Really, because I didn't get half of that, Naruto admitted as his sweat dropped. Naruto might be intelligent in a fight, but things like that just go right over his head. He did get one thing though. Leaning forward slightly, Naruto questioned nervously, are you telling me that the most terrifyingly powerful creature I've ever met, a being with energy levels beyond human comprehension, was a senile old man on his deathbed? A rather tactless way of putting it, but yes. Basically, primordial gods are beyond comprehension for even regular gods. The concept of a human, adapted to it or not, being able to contain and use its whole power is impossible. A very small portion might just be possible though, a sliver basically. That small portion would still be enough to raise even a human to heights possibly surpassing even regular gods though. It is a terrifying thought, Rias finished. Naruto considered all that he learned before a thought came to him. Naruto face-palmed as he growled out, we got so off topic. Oh. We did. Whoops. I just got a bit distracted due to the nature of the topic, Rias admitted. She truly looked a bit sheepish at how preoccupied she had become. She then added, I do think you should talk to a scientist or historian eventually, Naruto-san. You currently know more about primordial gods than anyone in this dimension. Yeah? I'll do it eventually. Let's get back to the important stuff now though, Naruto grunted out, fibbing a bit at the first part. All of this conversation had given him was a headache, so he'd avoid talking about it again like he would a plague. Akeno chuckled slightly before commenting, I believe you were talking to us about what happened during the war. Nodding, Naruto explained, I think that's right. Anyways, the Shinobi Alliance had hoped to prevent Madara from absorbing the Jubi entirely, but we failed in that aspect. We still fought him, but it was horrible. Madara had been more powerful than anyone had ever even believed possible before, but with the Jubi he was practically a god. We were getting smacked around like children. He just kept dropping meteors on our heads. How do you fight that? Seriously. Sweat dropping as Naruto started to freak out from the memories, Rias eventually interrupted, Naruto. Can you get back to the story? Rubbing the back of his neck in embarrassment, Naruto replied sheepishly, sorry. Bad memories, hee. Growing serious, Naruto then continued, One good thing did happen though. Apparently the concentration of power Madara was putting out by doing his best to drop the sky on our heads was enough to tear the dimensional fabric. A tear just appeared in the air behind him. I knew we could never beat him conventionally, so I decided to do something stupid and insane enough to work. So I put everything I had and just tackled him into the tear. It closed up right behind us. So that is how you ended up here, Yuto commented. Yeah, but it was not nearly so easy as it sounds. Dimensional travel is probably the most dangerous thing you can ever imagine, Naruto told him while shivering at the memory. Akeno quickly retorted, but it is possible to travel between dimensions. Devils travel between Earth and the underworld all the time. Trust me, that is a whole different method, Naruto stated with a frown on his face. He then clarified, the tear Madara caused was simply a result of how much power he was putting out. He wasn't trying to do it, completely different from purposefully initiating dimensional travel. Think of the two like conducting heart surgery. Proper dimensional travel is like proper heart surgery. You have a surgeon, scalpels, medicine, assistants, and done over 10 hours. Clean and precise. What happened to me is more like someone shoving their hand in a person's chest, ripping out their still beating heart, and then shoving another heart into the hole. The very concept of it working is ridiculous. Yet here you are, Koneko pointed out while taking bites out of a snack. Trust me, it was a miracle, Naruto grunted out before elaborating. It felt like every cell in my body was being shredded. Madara, the guy that was for all intents and purposes a god, died after just a second. I was between worlds for 4 seconds. Then how are you alive? Rias quickly demanded. The remnants of the Biju's wills, oh yeah. You don't know about the Biju. Let's just say that the Jubi decided to try and save me. It managed to wrestle control from Madara for just a few seconds. It used its energy to regenerate any damage I was receiving. Madara was left out to dry though, and died. The energy eventually dissipated in a few seconds after Madara died, but it bought me the time I needed. I was only exposed for half a second before I ended up dropping into this world, and even then the person who saved me said I resembled a pile of shredded meat and bones more than a human. She says I had maybe 2 seconds before I died if she hadn't put me in a stasis to preserve my life force. So we have finally come to this point. Who is this mysterious savior of yours? Naruto scratched his cheek before announcing, yeah, sorry about not telling you before. She told me her real name is Celine, but apparently she is known by something else, Lady of the Water or something. Wait, she gave me something before sending me here. It's a personal seal or mark. Naruto then started unbuttoning the academy uniform to show off an orange undershirt he was wearing. Over that was a medallion or pendant on a necklace. Grabbing it, Naruto held it out for Rias to examine. It's a silvery green pendant. It was actually rather simple. A small circle. The only real identifying feature was a symbol in a blue material that contrasted well with the rest of the metal. Simple, but elegant. It also had a sense of power to it. Rias immediately confirmed, that's the symbol of the Lady of the Lake. The aura around it also indicates she likely enchanted it. For what purpose I don't know. Maybe as an energy signature, since the symbol could be copied. This way any god or powerful being that had met her could recognize this as a sign from her, the Lady of the Lake. Like from Arthurian legends, Yuto asked in interest. He then added, the spirit that supposedly presented King Arthur with Excalibur. To Naruto, Yuto seemed a little too interested, although he wasn't sure what to make of it. Rias quickly announced with a small frown on her face, she's much more than that. That is just the most popular story including her, and even those stories are heavily distorted. She's usually classified as a demigod, although she is more technically a full god. She simply hasn't ever acted in a way to facilitate worship of her like most gods, since the overall strength of a god is directly connected to the amount of worshippers they have and the prayers they receive. This means she is one of the weakest gods overall. She does have several unique and powerful abilities though. She is said to have the power of prophecy, or the ability to see the future. She is also said to be able to confer powerful enchantments or blessings. The latter is the true way she interacted with the legendary King Arthur. She supposedly blessed him when he was young. Later versions simply switched what she gave him from a blessing to Excalibur. Yep, pretty sure that's her, Naruto declared calmly while shrugging nonchalantly. The group's sweat dropped at his attitude. Rias eventually commented, why are you so calm about this? The Lady of the Lake is a god, a secretive one that only appears during times of great change, and interacting with individuals of incredible importance and potential. I just don't get why you guys are freaking out. Yeah, she's hot totally, amazingly, unbelievably hot, but god or not, she's not a whole lot different from anyone else I've met. I'm more thankful of her for saving my life than I am in awe of her, Naruto claimed, still relaxed about everything. Leaning forward, he continued, anyways, apparently I appeared just above a lake in northern Russia. She, and probably every god or being with great power, felt the disturbance. When I fell in the lake it allowed Celine to transport me to her own little pocket dimension that exists in all lakes. She then put me in stasis when she saw my condition, and she spent the last 3 decades healing me up. 3 decades? Rias asked in shock. Naruto nodded before explaining to the disbelieving group, yep. Specifically, 32 years. That's how long it took her to heal me. Apparently well over 90% of my cells were shredded completely. It would have been instant death if I didn't have such a powerful life force. It allowed for my life force to remain for a few seconds even after my body was for all intents and purposes dead. The stasis she placed me in then preserved it as she healed my body. It is also the reason I didn't age during that time. Naruto then let out a depressed sigh before informing the group, that's also why I am in such a weak state. My chakra circulatory system was destroyed. One of the reasons it took so long to heal me was the pure difficulty she had in recreating it. Apparently humans don't have them here. She couldn't finish either. She managed to recreate it, but in an undeveloped state more suitable for a beginning academy student. She could have brought it up to the state it was before I came here, but she estimates it would have taken her 12 to 14 years. She didn't have that amount of time since I apparently had to come here during this year, so I'm stuck rebuilding my chakra reserves the old-fashioned way. Why did you have to come here? I'm grateful you did, since I'm in a bind where I need as much help as I can get. But I just don't see why she sent you here, Rias pointed out, her natural curiosity showing. Hell if I know, Naruto answered with a mystified shrug. Seeing Rias, and everyone else, wasn't happy with the answer, he groaned before telling her while trying to think, I'm sorry, but Celine never talked about stuff like that. Not to mention she enjoyed speaking in riddles if I asked. I do know that my entrance into the world sent out ripples, for a lack of a better term. Celine is capable of seeing into the future, and no doubt sensed how the future altered when I arrived here. I'm guessing something bad, since it prompted her to spend the next 3 decades healing me. I assume that something important is going to happen to you, or around you, that can have massive consequences. She once admitted my presence, altered the reincarnation process of a select number of sacred gear. So basically something bad happened because I entered this world, and thus she sent me to try and fix it. Reincarnation of sacred gears? Rias muttered to herself as she thought about that. She knew all the pieces were there. She just had to put them together. Deciding to put it in the back of her mind to think on it later, she looked at Naruto to announce, alright. I certainly didn't expect anything like this when I decided to add you to my peerage. It is a lot to take in, but I don't see any problem. A god sent you to me, although the reason for such a thing is unknown. That is probably a good thing. You are also far more than we believed. I think it will benefit everyone if we conclude the serious business for today. Everyone can sleep on this tonight. Tomorrow we can work on acclimatizing you towards your duties as a devil. Finally, Naruto eagerly exclaimed as he jumped to his feet. He then stretched his arms above his head. That had been a long, complicated discussion. Naruto preferred light topics. Not to mention he wanted to go train to try and get used to his new abilities. That thought was put on hold when he heard and felt his stomach growling. Grabbing it, he then claimed in a weak voice, I need food, preferably ramen. That is actually a good idea. Even if we keep it lighthearted, eating together will be a good way to bond as a group, Rias declared in thought. Naruto reacted by grinning widely and proclaiming loudly, awesome. I know this awesome ramen place. They also sell other stuff. Don't know why. Ramen is the food of the gods. Everything else is just a downgrade. Choosing to ignore Naruto's extra comments, Rias turned to the other members of her peerage and questioned, is that okay with you guys? They all thought for a moment before replying in their own ways. It would be nice to get to know Uzumaki-san better. I guess if I must, it would be a pleasure. Ufufu, I call the seat next to Uzumaki-kun. Hell no, sadist. 5-foot distance. Rias sighed as the group left the room, Akeno starting to chase the pale and sweating Naruto. Why does she have the feeling that Naruto is going to really complicate things from now on? Oh well. At least she got a silly new brother. With that thought, Rias followed the group out the door. Naruto-kun. It's time to wake up. He's not waking. Sloth. Ufufu, I can shock him awake. I'm awake, Naruto exclaimed at that, still half asleep. He was not going to let someone shock him. He then wondered what was happening, since he had literally only woken up to avoid being shocked. He popped his head out from the blanket he was bundled in to look around blearily. He was in his room. It was rather Spartan overall, the main feature being his massive bed. He didn't spend much time there besides to sleep. The sun was shining through the window, and his clock said it was 9 in the morning. The most important thing was that the entire occult research club was in his room. Blinking at them, Naruto finally just shrugged and went back into his blanket cocoon. He then tried to go back to sleep. Wait, what? The fact that 4 people were in his room finally registered to him. Letting out a shocked cry, Naruto tried to jump to his feet in an alert stance. Tried because he forgot his body was thoroughly wrapped up in his blanket. With the blanket constricting his movements, Naruto ended up tumbling off his bed in a heap. Engaging in a short wrestling match with his blanket, which he swore was fighting back, Naruto finally managed to free himself. He then sprang to his feet and pointed at the amused members of the occult club before demanding, what the hell? How'd you get into my room? Rias chuckled at him, panicked before answering, well, you told us your home address yesterday. We came here, but we couldn't seem to get in, so we had no choice but to teleport to you directly. Naruto blinked at her blankly as he absorbed that information. He then questioned bluntly, okay, but why were you looking for me? It's Sunday. A free day. Maybe for school, but not for us. As a devil you now have responsibilities. I figured today was just as good a time as any as to familiarize yourself with those duties, Rias told him. She then added, I figured I could have you spar with Koneko, Yuto, and Akeno. To find out your abilities and everything. We really don't know anything about you after all. I told you a lot yesterday. Don't you believe me? Naruto pointed out with a raised eyebrow. I didn't mean that. While your story is pretty unbelievable, I think you are telling the truth. Your story is just too outlandish and detailed to be a flat-out lie. Not everyone will believe you so easily, of course, but that doesn't really matter right now, Rias informed him calmly before adding. Your story did also rather clearly lack much information on yourself. Naruto scratched the back of his neck as he commented sheepishly. So you noticed that? Yes. I realized it when I was going to sleep, Rias claimed in an unamused voice. Naruto sighed before explaining, sorry, but did you really expect me to tell you my entire life story? I only really joined your peerage because Celine wanted me to, and I owed her. Plus, that stuff is in the past. There's no going back. I just don't much enjoy the idea of not knowing a member of my peerage, Rias maintained stubbornly. We'll get to know each other. You can't force things like this. No offense, but I don't really trust you guys yet. It isn't anything about you, but I just don't know any of you any more than you know me. That will change over time. For now we should just focus on becoming friends, Naruto professed awkwardly to the group. Telling a group you are now part of that you don't trust them is not an easy task. That is actually rather reasonable, Rias hesitantly admitted. She soon straightened though as she added, either way, you are part of my peerage, so there are some things I need to know. Your abilities specifically. You never told me much before besides that you are more of a reckless fighter. You even admitted that you are in a weakened state as well. With your rook enhancements being so new, it will benefit all of us to get a full measure of your battle prowess. I guess that makes sense. Just let me get dressed, Naruto replied in acceptance. Sure, but I got to ask. What is with that tattoo on your stomach? It doesn't look normal, Rias asked curiously. Naruto looked down to see that he had subconsciously started to circulate chakra through his system. This had allowed the Hack no Fuin Shiki, 8 trigram seal, to appear on his navel. He had been surprised to find out he still had it after having his body destroyed and put back together. It didn't even hold anything anymore. Apparently Naruto had been so damaged when he arrived here that traditional healing methods wouldn't work. To heal him would require immensely complicated and dangerous healing spells that even Celine was reluctant to do. Instead she had apparently resorted to a time manipulation spell. She didn't heal him so much as reverse the damage he took entirely. It was a very slow process, but it left Naruto in the exact condition he had been before tackling Madara through the dimensional tear. Even all the seals Naruto had on his body were restored. The only reason his chakra network wasn't healed was due to his own chakra interfering in the process. To heal that required Celine to resort to those difficult and risky healing methods he mentioned before. Another reason she had stopped after managing to recreate his chakra system on the basic level. To try and heal it further was simply too dangerous and difficult. That's just the seal. Fuinjutsu, Naruto informed them nonchalantly before adding while showing the insides of his wrists, where 2 tiny seals were. Personal storage seals Jiraiya had applied during his training trip. They hurt like a bitch to apply. Naruto punched Jiraiya in the face for revenge. Naruto quickly finished, I have a few. Yuto was the one to ask, what's Fuinjutsu? The art of sealing, Naruto replied simply before gesturing to his window. The window had several seals inscribed on the inside. He then clarified, in simple terms, Fuinjutsu is a way to mold and shape chakra through the use of writing. A master can accomplish anything with it. I'm not at that level, but I am adept enough to have placed many different levels of protection on my house, although it matters little since you proved you can just teleport inside. I doubt even a master could come up with a way to prevent that. At least not without years of effort. Jiraiya had taught Naruto Fuinjutsu during the training trip. Naruto just hadn't ever really used it. He preferred big ninjutsu techniques to sitting still and writing. That had changed after coming here. With Naruto's reduced chakra capacity, Fuinjutsu was a lifesaver. He wasn't a master, but he's still an expert. The only difference between a master and expert is years of experience. Rias looked closer at the seals on the window as she commented, that sounds useful. Like a different style of rune symbols. We'll have to explore this later, but for now we should just focus on your physical capabilities. Alright. We can get to that as soon as I get dressed. Unless any of you guys want me to explain something else first, Naruto asked wryly. Since they woke him up, he was in his sleeping attire. Boxers. Naruto wasn't exactly shy, either were they, since they didn't seem to care either, but having to hold an entire conversation in his boxers was starting to wear on him. Akeno took this opportunity to remark in a teasing voice, ramen-themed boxers? Really? Naruto just shook his head as he headed towards his closet. On the way he retorted in a sly tone, please. You're just jealous you don't have sexy underwear like this, Ms. Granny Panties. Granny Panties? Akeno repeated in an honestly offended tone. She quickly countered by saying indignantly, I'll have you know I only buy top-of-the-line lingerie. Stuff so sexy. She was cut off by Rias placing a hand over her mouth. Not right now, Akeno, Rias ordered with a sigh. Good. Now can you all leave while I change? I'm going to do it even if you stay, but just a warning. If you don't want to see a bit more of me than usual, the hallway awaits, Naruto told them as he opened his closet. The group seemed overall amused by his attitude towards changing in front of them, but filed out regardless. They waited in the hallway for a minute as he changed. The door opened to reveal him. Naruto had decided to wear something different compared to the other members of the occult club, who were all wearing the Ko Academy uniform. He was wearing some white, special order sandals. He was also donning white cargo pants, and in tight, orange sleeveless shirt. Around his head he was tying a white cloth to hold back the hair he hadn't bothered cutting for a while. These were his workout clothes, all of them practical clothes that were reinforced with seals. Not quite to the level of ninja wear, but decent enough to fight and train in. Naruto quickly asked the group, "Do you guys have any area in particular you want to do the spar?" "Not really. We just do typical training, cardio runs and stuff, around town or at school. For spars or magical training we just go into the forest outside of town," Rias admitted. "No need. I have a place. Follow me," Naruto claimed with a grin. He then started ahead of the group. With a shrug from Rias, they quickly followed. They walked down a long corridor and then started down some stairs. As they walked down another door-lined hallway, Yuto questioned, "No offense, Uzumaki-san, but why do you own such a large home? This is a mansion, and you clearly live alone. First of all, enough with the Uzumaki. We're comrades now," Naruto told Yuto sternly. When Yuto gave an accepting nod, Naruto continued, "As for this house, yeah, it's way too big for me. However, Ika net me enough to live comfortably for 10 years. I'm not really the guy to save my money either, so I really just had so much money I had no idea what to do with it." "You bought a mansion because you could," Yuto commented with a sweat drop. "Idiot," Koneko muttered blankly. Ignoring Kaneko's insult, Naruto shrugged before admitting, "Kind of, but I did buy this place for a reason. We're just about to enter it." He said this as they walked down a good number of concrete stairs. Reaching a door, Naruto threw it open while gesturing grandiosely, "Behold." "Wow," Rias muttered in shock before finishing, "this is a massive basement." Naruto nodded with a grin as he explained to the group, "The rich guy that built this place 20 years ago wanted an Olympic-sized swimming pool at his house. He couldn't get the land to put one though. Since he couldn't expand outwards, he went down, building this massive basement. He then built the house on top. The pool was then placed here. I really wanted a place to train without worrying about collateral damage or being seen. I had to fill in the pool and replace the tiles with regular concrete. Cost a pretty penny, especially considering how much this place cost, but I had the cash available. Once I placed reinforcement seals on the walls, I had a private training grounds." The group looked at the basement that could comfortably fit an Olympic-sized pool. It was rather basic. The walls and floor were plain concrete. There were numerous training weights and other gym equipment in a corner. Rias eventually stated, "That is smart, if extremely wasteful." Naruto shrugged, accepting both. He did buy a mansion just for the basement. Not something the average person can do. Naruto replied with, "I'm rich. I can be wasteful." "True. How much did you make on Ika?" Akeno curiously questioned. "A lot, and I'm still getting payments. I get commissions based on sales. Ika is still being released in numerous countries as the translations finish. Considering I'm writing another book right now, money isn't really an issue for me," Naruto claimed with a shrug. "Okay. We can't get distracted. Let's get to work right away," Rias announced to the group sternly. When everyone looked at her, she ordered, "Naruto, we'll start with having you spar Koneko." Naruto looked at her and nodded. Any other response was cut off when a fist collided with his jaw. A fist with a lot of power packed into it. Enough to send Naruto flying. Hitting the ground 20 meters away, Naruto bounced across the concrete multiple times before finally coming to a stop. Lying on his back, Naruto blinked up at the roof of the basement in a daze. "Damn, that was a good punch, and that is coming from someone used to being hit by people with super strength, Sakura and Tsunade." Lifting his head to look at the culprit, he asked while rotating his sword jaw, "You've been waiting a while to do that, haven't you, Koneko-chan?" "Yes," Koneko answered without shame as she pulled on some punching gloves. "Good one," Naruto grunted as he got to his feet. Rule number 2 of Naruto's list of prankster rules was that you can't be mad if someone gets revenge. You have to be accepting of the consequences of your actions. Doesn't mean he's going to let people get him, but if it does happen then he'll accept it. Rule number 3 is always get payback, and always raise the stakes. Weak men stop when they break even. Real men escalate that shit for the hell of it." So Naruto cracked his neck before saying with an eager grin, "Looks like the cat has some claws." Kaneko's eyes narrowed, and she shot towards him without saying anything. Naruto stood there without moving, a wide grin on his face. He didn't even move when she shot a punch towards his face, letting it connect without dropping his smile. Unlike the last time though, this time he rolled with it to create a spin. Circling around behind her, Naruto then put all the force of the swing into his open palm slap, which landed right on Kaneko's cute little ass. "Naya!" Koneko yelped/squealed out at the action. Stumbling when she landed, she fell to her knees as her hands fell back to hold her stinging cheek. Naruto stood there grinning. What he was hiding was the intense pain he was feeling in his hand. Holy crap, Koneko takes the idea of a firm behind to a ridiculous level, likely because she is a rook. Either way, it felt like Naruto slapped a rock. Naruto watched as Koneko slowly turned to look at him with watering eyes, an adorable pout on her face as she tried to glare at him. Naruto opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. After a few seconds he admitted with a shrug, "Okay, I got no cat joke for that. I'm not that clever." "Sue me, pervert senpai," Koneko growled out as she stood up, trying to be intimidating. Naruto just found it adorable. She then finished as she jumped at him again, "You're the worst." This time she came at Naruto smart. Not to mention with an abundance of killing intent. Okay, maybe he had pushed the little cat a bit too far now. It's just starting to get fun. Darting in when he felt he saw an opportunity, Naruto lashed out with a roundhouse kick at Koneko. Koneko defended by holding her arms in front of her in a guard. The kick landed heavily against her forearms. Despite the block, the attack had enough force to send the petite devil flying through the air. The short flight ended when her back connected with the wall, a nasty crack sounding out from the impact. Koneko fell to the ground, but then showed her rook durability by standing with almost no sign of injury at the attack, which caused Naruto to sigh. The spar had been going on for quite a while by this point. While Koneko had attacked him furiously at the beginning, Naruto turned it around after her anger faded slightly from the few hits she managed to land on him. No offense to Koneko, but she couldn't quite match him in hand-to-hand combat. She didn't give up though. Instead she started fighting defensively, fighting in such a way to prevent him from landing an attack cleanly. She always made sure to block it or deflect most of the power behind it. Her rook toughness took care of the rest. She might be rather worn out, but the only real difference since the start of the spar was in her uniform. That was a mess by this point, multiple holes and tears showing her bra and panties. Not quite what Naruto was looking for. Naruto decided not to let up and rushed her. Throwing a quick barrage of punches, Koneko reacted by using her small size to slip through the worst of it. Dropping to the ground, Naruto threw a sweep kick. Koneko jumped into the air to avoid it, exactly what Naruto wanted. Flipping on the ground in a break-dancing style move, Naruto lashed out with his other leg in a back kick. Koneko crossed her arms to clock the sole of his foot, but the power lifted her into the air. Naruto once again used a break-dancing move to spin to his feet, intending to take advantage of Koneko when she was in the air. Instead he found himself staring down her fist. Crap! Naruto forgot about the whole devil wings thing. She used them to maneuver herself in midair, attacking when he figured she was helpless. The surprise was enough for Naruto not be able to dodge her punch, the resulting impact creating a loud collision sound. Naruto was relatively unaffected though, having turned his head with the punch. The rook's enhanced durability also helped. Before Koneko could pull her arm back, Naruto gripped it in his hands. Turning his body, Naruto threw the petite girl at the nearest wall. The momentum made it so that she couldn't change her flight projection with her wings. She did manage to position her body to land feet first. Hitting the wall hard, she looked towards Naruto. This time it was her that found herself staring down a punch. Naruto had immediately followed after throwing her, knowing she would recover. Too late to dodge completely. Koneko only managed to angle her body so that his punch clipped her shoulder. It was still enough to send her spinning, but was successful at deflecting the majority of the force in the punch. It instead crashed into the wall, cracking the reinforced concrete. Koneko managed to straighten her spin to land on her feet, proving her nature as a cat-like being. Naruto got back into a fighting stance, holding in his scream of pain at punching the wall like that. Naruto shot forward again, intent on pressuring Koneko till she made a mistake or just plain got exhausted. On the sidelines, the other three members of the occult club were watching attentively. Akeno broke the silence by stating, "Naruto-kun is rather impressive. He's got Koneko on the run, even if he can't finish her." "I agree. It is also rather clear how the two are different despite them both being rooks. Naruto has far more offensive power than Koneko, while Kaneko's durability is her advantage. Her natural evasive abilities and small size also allow her to prevent any strikes that could potentially overcome her defensive power from landing cleanly. This makes it extremely difficult to finish her. So she is best suited for a defensive duty or stalling opponents. Her weakness would be widespread, heavy-duty spells. She can't dodge, but they still pack enough power to put her down. Naruto's aggressive mindset, vicious offensive power, and relentless stamina make him an ideal frontline fighter or shock trooper. His weakness is less clear, probably a likelihood to fall into traps or ambushes. Both rooks, but near complete opposites, Rias commented analytically, her eyes not leaving the spar. Yuto nodded before adding, "True. I am somewhat confused on Naruto's fighting style though. It is rather wild would be the word I'd use." "I understand what you mean. He basically said he was a soldier yesterday, so you'd think he'd be a rather disciplined fighter." "I wonder if Naruto-kun lied to us," Akeno replied, ending in a voice that showed she wasn't pleased with the idea. "I really don't think so, Akeno. Just because he isn't a controlled fighter doesn't mean he isn't a soldier," Rias retorted quickly. "If you say so, Bucho," Akeno replied with a giggle. "I think you both are misunderstanding my words," Yuto interrupted calmly. Directing their attention back to the spar, he elaborated, "True, he isn't using a rigid or disciplined fighting style. Even I can tell that. It appears there are holes in his stance, and that he has no real set attack pattern. That doesn't mean it is bad though. Whenever Koneko tries to take advantage of those holes in his defense, he reacts instantly. Like he is expecting her. His rather crazy methods of attacks are also very effective at catching Koneko by surprise. It doesn't quite look purposeful though. Not deceptive. More like it is malleable, experienced. He has so much experience at fighting, he doesn't need a style. Everything Koneko has done, he's been ready to counter. If you took away their devil abilities and rook attributes, I'd say Koneko wouldn't stand a chance against Naruto. As it is, he's still raw and inexperienced as a devil and rook. Koneko inherently has the advantage right now. An advantage that is dwindling as this spar continues. Rias nodded in understanding. Yuto's words are proving true. Koneko is finding fewer and fewer opportunities to try and counter Naruto as the spar continues. Not to mention Koneko was starting to tire. Naruto's stamina really is impressive. He's still going strong. Grinning, Rias declared happily, "This is perfect." Seeing both her peerage members look at her, she explained, "It is clear that Naruto is an experienced fighter. He also claims to have fought in a war. That is exactly what we need. Riser has already participated in a number of raiding games. He's experienced. We aren't. That's a major disadvantage for us, but Naruto might be able to mitigate it somewhat." Yuto and Akeno both nodded, understanding her argument. Real-life experience is always better than theory. Having a person on their side with plenty of fighting experience to guide them and give them advice against Riser could prove extremely useful. Deciding the spar had gone on long enough, Rias clapped to draw their attention before announcing, "Okay, that is enough." Naruto and Koneko immediately stopped their match. Naruto quickly started rolling his shoulders with a wide grin on his face. Turning to Koneko, he told her, "Great match, Koneko-san. You are really strong." Koneko ignored him, making him sweat drop. Okay, maybe he really should stop the cat jokes. They clearly aren't endearing him to Koneko, but she is so adorable when she is angry at him. He'll decide later. "Think you are up for a quick spar with Yuto, Naruto-kun?" Rias asked. Naruto did a quick status check. His body was in good shape considering how much power Koneko managed to pack into her punches despite her size. It wasn't anything he couldn't handle though. No broken bones, no internal bleeding. He'll no doubt have some wicked bruises later, but he's tough. The rook enhancements worked miracles in that department. They also lowered the amount of chakra enhancement he needed for his taijutsu to be effective. His new durability meant he didn't have to continuously circulate chakra into his muscles to boost his speed to a level to dodge all attacks since he now could just take the punishment, only needing a quick burst of speed every now and then. Naruto was particularly happy with his new improved raw strength. Although he couldn't test it out in this basement, he was pretty confident he could replicate the attacks of Sakura and Tsunade's super strength technique eventually. Say what you will, but Naruto had always been a bit put out by being physically weaker than the frail-looking Sakura. He didn't even need chakra for it either. Awesome. These things meant his chakra reserves are still going strong. With his larger reserves, he'd used less than a fifth of his total in that match. His stamina meant his body wasn't tired either. Resolved, Naruto nodded at Rias as he declared, "Bring him on." Chuckling, Rias waved at Yuto before telling him, "You heard him, Yuto. Bring it on." "Of course, Bucho," Yuto replied with a smile as he walked towards Naruto. He drew a sword he had prepared beforehand. As the two blondes faced each other, Koneko reached Rias and Akeno. Rias quickly questioned, "So what do you think of Naruto, Koneko?" Koneko paused and tilted her head. She then answered blankly, "He is skilled in hand-to-hand. Adapted to rook attributes quickly. Overall impressive combat abilities. Yet I can tell you still have reservations," Rias commented knowingly. When Koneko didn't deny it, Rias sighed before asking, "What is it, Koneko? If you know something you should tell." "Everything we know about Naruto is helpful. He uses chakra weird," Koneko finally admitted. She then clarified hesitantly, "Chakra is the base of one's life. The energy of the soul. It is not meant to be a power one can grasp easily. The easiest way to use it is with Senjutsu. With Senjutsu, one can sense and draw upon it. He isn't drawing it out to use Tuki, or using the ki in chakra to empower his body. He is manipulating the chakra with it remaining part of him. It is different. I don't know if I could even use such a method. He does claim to be from another world. It is only natural that they could develop their own ways to use their inner energies," Rias quickly reasoned. "I realize. It is different, but not worrying," Koneko claimed emotionlessly. "Yet you are worried. If not of this, then what?" Akeno pointed out with a quiet certainty. This time one could see the emotions on Kaneko's face. Subtle, but noticeable. It was a mix of dislike and fear. She declared in an uncertain voice, "His chakra feels similar to the energy of nature." "No, not similar. Like the two have interacted. Mixed before." "You think he knows Senjutsu?" Rias demanded with alarm in her voice. "Senjutsu is dangerous and taboo. If her new servant knows Senjutsu it would complicate things." "I'm unsure." Since I have refused to train in Senjutsu, my sensing abilities are weak. Plus, usual Senjutsu wouldn't result in one's chakra changing. Normal Senjutsu requires one to manipulate natural energy outside of their bodies. No mixing it with chakra, thus no change in the chakra, Koneko explained, looking rather baffled herself. Akeno was the one to connect the dots, and added, but since Naruto uses chakra differently, then who is to say his method of using Senjutsu isn't different as well? Exactly, Koneko muttered with a nod, her eyes fixed on Naruto with a scary intensity. And I doubt asking him will get us answers. He seems to be playing any personal info close to the chest, Rias grumbled in annoyance. She could understand that Naruto was being careful, but it is only causing her headaches. So she just sighed before continuing. Koneko, continue monitoring his chakra to the best of your abilities. If you start to sense a change in his chakra that might indicate he's experimenting or using Senjutsu, tell me. I'll confront him about it then. Don't spy on him. Just be aware. We need to gain his trust before he'll open up more with his abilities and past. Hopefully this is nothing. Koneko nodded in understanding. She truly feared Senjutsu. It was a dangerous ability. The possibility that Naruto could use it was naturally making her wary. On the other hand, she never got a sense of danger from Naruto himself. He was infuriating, sure, but her instincts were never acting up around him. If Naruto knew how to use Senjutsu in a better way, without going insane, then this might be an opportunity for her. As a Nekishu, Senjutsu comes to her even more naturally than it does a normal Nikomata. She knew she would eventually have to master it, or it would master her. If a teacher appeared with a superior method of Senjutsu, she would still be scared of Senjutsu, but it would still be a preferable alternative than having to experiment by herself. With the issue put on the back burner, the three turned back to the ongoing spar. Knowing the spar was already started, Naruto readied himself. Yuto was a knight, so speed was his strength. Yuto proved his thoughts by breaking into a sudden dash. He was fast, but Naruto was used to fighting fast opponents. Sasuke had always had the speed advantage over him, and he used the sword as well. Naruto couldn't hope to match Yuto's speed currently, but he could track him and react in time. So when Yuto attacked with a simple slash, Naruto easily leaned out of the way. Yuto didn't stop for an instant. He dashed again, circling around Naruto to attack from his side. Naruto once again leaned out of the way of the attack. Yuto then once again dashed to come from the side again. Naruto quickly grew tired as the cycle repeated. Yuto wasn't giving him a chance to attack. Moving too fast for Naruto to target, and only stopping to do a quick attack, Naruto had to move out of the way. But by then Yuto was moving again. It was smart of Yuto, but it was a pain for Naruto, so Naruto withdrew a kunai from one of the storage seals on his wrists. He then used it to block the sword strike that had been going to his side. The sudden change was enough to briefly surprise Yuto. Using the opportunity, Naruto's other hand shot out in a quick jab towards Yuto's face. The princely blonde barely managed to dodge. Naruto tried to strike again, but Yuto showed his resourcefulness by kicking out with a leg to connect with the leg Naruto was stepping forward with. Naruto barely even felt the kick, but it did succeed in unbalancing him for a second. Which was more than enough for Yuto to recover and create some distance. Yuto's method of attack quickly changed to a more hit-and-run style. Instead of running around Naruto, he darted in and out, each time unleashing a quick combination of sword strikes before leaving once Naruto looked about to retaliate. This time Naruto stayed calm. He had to be to ensure Yuto didn't manage to sneak in a strike. A single mistake when fighting a sword-wielding opponent could be fatal. Naruto knew that from his fights with Sasuke. His rook durability might be able to deflect a shot, but Naruto really wasn't in the mood to test that theory. Much rather not get stabbed or slashed in any way, so he stayed calm and defended as he analyzed Yuto's sword style. Yuto was skilled with the sword. He obviously had a good teacher. A style meant there was a pattern though. Yuto was skilled, but obviously lacked the pure experience necessary to adjust his style on the fly. Getting his rhythm down would enable Naruto to counterattack. As soon as he got it down, Naruto acted. When Yuto came in with a downward slash, Naruto rose his kunai to block it. Simultaneously, Naruto's other hand shot out in a hook at Yuto's face. Yuto predictably leaned out of the way, but Naruto's hook had been wide enough that he lost his balance in the process. With Yuto's base unstable, thus preventing him from dodging, Naruto dropped for a sweep kick. Yuto tried a quick slash to distract Naruto, but it was for naught as Naruto's kunai once again blocked it as his legs swept Yuto's legs out from under him. Naruto's other leg then shot out in a mule kick towards Yuto's chest. Yuto had to use his sword to block the attack. The sword snapped under the force of Naruto's kick, but the force it took to break it was enough to push Yuto out of the way before the kick hit him. Yuto rolled with the momentum to regain his feet. He then looked at his broken sword. Straightening, Naruto taunted with a grin. "Looks like you are out of weapon, Yuto-san." "Not at all," Yuto replied with his usual polite smile. He then easily threw away the broken sword before continuing, "This just means I can go all out." Naruto was confused, but got ready. Whatever Yuto was going to do was stop prematurely when Rias announced, "Okay, that's enough you two." "I got enough." "What?" "We were only sparring for like 3 minutes," Naruto exclaimed in annoyance. Even Yuto didn't look all that happy for the spar to end. You can spar another time. I simply wanted to see how you would react to fighting someone with a significant speed advantage over yourself, Rias told them firmly. Naruto sighed at her explanation before telling her in resignation, fine, but you could have just asked. There are usual ways to fight someone faster than yourself. Fight defensively. Minimize your movement. Look for patterns. Try and move to a smaller area, where your opponent will have less area to maneuver. Shoot for simultaneous exchanges. Target their legs or disrupt their footing. Pretty standard stuff. Intelligent guidelines, but I still was able to find out much more from watching you do that stuff than just hearing you say that stuff, Rias immediately retorted. Guess that makes sense, Naruto reluctantly granted. Turning back to Yuto, Naruto continued with a grin, nice spar, Yuto-san. You're good. We'll need to do this ajifuck, my kunai. Naruto's attitude abruptly changed when he caught sight of the weapon he had used to block Yuto's sword. The edge was chipped to the point that it was useless to Naruto. Naruto quickly exclaimed in annoyance, this sucks ass. I've only got 8 of these left. 7 now. Naruto had basically forgotten the 2 storage seals on his wrist before coming here. He'd only had a dozen kunai in one when he arrived, and they weren't the highest quality kunai. 4 had broken from his training over these months. To see another one bite the dust was a bitter pill to swallow. He didn't need them, but they were some of the few mementos he had left from his original world. Yuto didn't quite understand why Naruto was upset about the loss of a little knife, but it was clearly important to him on some level, so he smiled apologetically before saying sorry. I didn't realize. My demonic swords will damage most human-made weapons. It's okay, Naruto replied sadly. Naruto then quickly shook his head like a dog to rid himself of the feeling. Feeling sad just wasn't him. Forcing himself to feel upbeat, Naruto turned to Rias and asked, what's next, Rias-chan? Rias answered with a smirk, now I need to see how you would fight against the spell user. Yuto immediately chuckled as he understood. Naruto was left confused until he heard a soft voice, Era, looks like it is my turn. Let's have fun, Naruto-kun. Yufufu. Naruto paled. Looking at Rias, he looked at her with a face begging for help. She just chuckled in amusement before walking towards the sidelines. Like a man facing his death, Naruto turned around in grim acceptance to face the smiling Akeno. It didn't matter if she was hot. At that moment Naruto was looking the Shinigami in the face. Giving one last attempt to stop this, Naruto asked in desperation, what happened to the 5-foot rule? Yufufu, Akeno giggled out, not comforting Naruto at all. She then lifted a hand, which started sparking dangerously. She then informed him with her inner sadist starting to peek out, you seem to be operating under a false assumption, Naruto-kun. I don't need to get within 5 feet of you to hurt you, and that's all that matters to me. Naruto immediately groaned out, I'm screwed, aren't gay. Akeno cut him off by shooting a bolt of lightning at him, which was a pretty good answer as well. 10 minutes later Rias called a stop to the spar. On one side stood Naruto. Considering he had spent 10 minutes sparring a sadist trying to fry his ass with lightning, he was looking pretty good. He was rather singed and burned from a few close calls, and his hair was sticking up even more than usual due to all the static. Still, he was alive and not suffering nerve damage from electric shocks. That was enough for him. The biggest issue was that he was breathing heavily, and looked tired. The first due to all the screaming and panicking he had been doing. The second due to his nearly exhausted chakra reserves. Another minute or 2 and he would have dropped. Akeno was rather untouched overall. However, it was clear by her face that she was fuming and disappointed regardless of her untouched state. The spar had clearly not pleased her. Rias, Yuto, and Koneko were all showing various levels of bewilderment and amusement. The reason was clear. The ground of the training field was littered with burnt and destroyed logs. Every time Akeno had been about to hit Naruto, he managed to replace himself with a log he pulled out of his ass. A lot of logs. Akeno let out her frustrations by growling furiously. Where the hell did you even get all these logs? Naruto just gasped for breath before admitting, no idea. I didn't pay attention in class much. Iruka always mentioned something about praising the Lord of the Log or something, but I just thought that was because he was slipping something into his coffee. I can't believe I didn't use this technique more as a kid. Sasuke was right. I was a dumbass. Not that anyone uses it after a certain point. Either way, I'm ready to start praising the Lord of the Log. TSK. What a shame. I lost my chance. I'm sure your cries of pain would have been so beautiful, Akeno muttered in dejection. I hate sadists so much, Naruto cried out from her words. Okay, that's enough, Rias told them while clapping her hands to gather their attention. Looking at Naruto, she continued, so you clearly have some interesting abilities. That switching thing is clearly useful at evasion. That you didn't attack Akeno indicates you don't have any ranged attacks. Am I right? Yeah. I can recreate several low-powered wind techniques with my current reserves, but it will take some time and practice. For now I'm stuck at short range, Naruto replied with no shame over his current limitations. Emphasis on current. Wind, huh? That could be useful, Rias muttered in thought. Looking at him, she then asked, do you currently know any other techniques? Nodding, Naruto told her yep. 2. A third seems to not work on devils. Will you show us? Rias asked. She usually would have ordered him to, but she was trying to get him to trust her. Sure, Naruto replied easily. These were all low-level techniques, so it didn't matter much. He quickly started explaining. That was the replacement technique. As you saw and the name implies, it allows me to replace myself with something of roughly equal mass. Usually a log. He then ran through a few hand seals before being engulfed in a puff of smoke. It cleared to show that he had turned into a perfect koi of Rias. He then explained to the Stun Club members, this is the transformation technique. This is an illusion. I have a better version where I physically transform, but my current chakra reserves don't allow me to use it. Poofing back to himself, he then ran through a few more hand seals. This time he seemed to disappear. Those present could see the slight bending around him with their advanced eyesight. Even they would admit that is probably only because they knew exactly where he was. As he was invisible, Naruto explained, and this is the transparent escape technique. It bends light around the user to turn me invisible. I have still not perfected this technique. I couldn't use it before due to lack of control, and recreated it just from memory. It's good when I'm still, but when I start moving the group watching all flinched when a sudden bright light invaded their eyeballs. Naruto quickly told them as he let the technique fall, I'm still not familiar enough with bending the light properly. When I move it bends wrong and causes flashes of light like that. Not exactly stealthy. Rias nodded as her eyes recovered. She then commented in a gleefully, they each have their issues, but are certainly useful. For infiltration, stealth, and battle. Naruto accepted the compliment with a nod, but it was clear by his heavy breathing and sweat on his forehead that he was tired. He quickly stated, I hope that's it for today. I used a lot of chakra in the spar with the sadist, and I'm now running on empty from those techniques. It's not the end for today, but don't worry. The rest will be relatively boring in comparison, Rias reassured him calmly. She then announced, we should go back to the clubroom. We can teleport there. Think I can shower and eat first? You guys did sort of drag me out of bed, Naruto requested in exasperation. He had worked up a sweat, not to mention he was slightly burned from Akeno's lightning. A shower would be nice. Getting some food in his stomach will help him recover his lost chakra as well. Oh, sorry. I forgot, Rias said with a slight blush and a sheepish expression. Turning to the rest of the club, she told them, you guys head back first. I'll stay back here with Naruto-kun to teleport him there when he's showered. Akeno, prepare some breakfast once you get there. I think all of us could have a bite to eat. They nodded before stepping away. Koneko and Yuto stepped close to Akeno, who closed her eyes and concentrated. A bright red, magic circle formed on the ground beneath them. Naruto watched in interest as another formed above them. The top one then lowered, and the three disappeared as it passed over their bodies. When the two circles lined up, they disappeared in a bright flash to show the three completely gone. Naruto wasn't too surprised by the spell. Selene had used similar spells. Even taught him one. Instead he turned to Rias and said, let's go upstairs. You can explore or watch TV. Whatever you want. I'll be taking a shower. Got it, Rias said in acceptance. As the two moved towards the door, Naruto's eyes swept across all the burnt and destroyed logs his match with Akeno had resulted in. He then grunted, damn it, I'm the one that has to clean this up too? That's going to suck. 20 minutes later Naruto stepped out of his shower. Wrapping a towel around his waist, he stepped towards the mirror, wiping of the condensation on it. Naruto took a moment to look at his reflection. His appearance hasn't changed a whole lot since coming here. He'd only been here for a few months after all. His blonde hair had been allowed to grow out a bit, and his whisker marks had faded a bit since he no longer had Kurama in him. Otherwise his face looked the same. He had grown a good 3 inches in height already, something Naruto was glad about and hoped would continue. It also looked to Naruto like he was a bit more cut, although that could just be his ego talking. He had been doing a lot of physical exercise though. Shrugging over his concern for inane things like his appearance, Naruto walked out of the bathroom. Moving to his bedroom, he dropped the towel before grabbing some clothes. Since the rest of the club members were using their school uniforms, Naruto figured he should as well, so he slipped on the black dress pants and the white, long-sleeved, button-up shirt. He passed on the black blazer, since the thing was stuffy as hell. He completely ignored the possibility of wearing a tie or bow tie like some students do. He finished by putting on a pair of brown dress shoes, which Naruto had special ordered to be surprisingly comfy. With him being fully dressed, Naruto left his room and walked down the stairs to find Rias rummaging through his kitchen. As soon as she sensed him, she commented, not a whole lot in here, Naruto-kun. Plenty of instant ramen, but not much else. Naruto shrugged before claiming nonchalantly, not much a cook myself. I actually go to school early to eat breakfast there. By lunch there. Usually eat out for dinner. The ramen is just there for when I want a snack after training. Well, good for you. Akeno is an amazing cook. She usually makes stuff for the club, since the rest of us live in the building, Rias told him as she stopped searching through his cupboards. Approaching him, she asked, so you ready to teleport to the clubroom? Yep, good. Then give me your hand, Rias ordered. Naruto complied with a shrug. A quick tap was all she did before a glowing red symbol formed on Naruto's palm. She then explained as Naruto examined the mark. This is a carved mark. It will act as proof that you belong to the Gremory household. It will allow you to teleport with my family's magic circle. I see. Is it possible to create my own magic circle? Naruto asked curiously as he let his marked hand fall. Rias was surprised by the question, but answered regardless, yes, but it requires a substantial amount of skill in using your demonic power. Even I have to rely on my standard family circle. The creation of a personal magic circle is often viewed as a sign of independence and competency due to the difficulty. For a reincarnated devil to manage it is usually taken as a sign that they should be considered a high-class devil. Why? Naruto shrugged before replying truthfully, more curious than anything, but I guess I'm just interested in learning a bit of magic. Seems like it would be useful. That can be handled, Rias quickly stated. She hadn't been planning on teaching Naruto how to use his demonic powers in particular. His potential in the field is also rather uncertain, but it could prove useful. A person can never have too many skills, and it will help her if Naruto becomes more powerful. She then continued, both Akeno and myself are quite skilled in using our demonic power, even if we mainly stick to our specialties. The best thing to start with would teaching you how to use my family circle. Currently only myself and Akeno can do so, although the main reason Koneko and Yuto can't is due to a lack of necessity than anything. We have a written circle in the club room which allows anyone with enough magical power to use it to teleport somewhere from there. This is something we should talk about later though. For now we should get to the club room to talk. Step close and I'll teleport us, Rias ordered. Naruto shrugged and stepped close enough that their shoulders were touching. Rias didn't even look like she needed to concentrate before the magic circles sprang up. He then waited as they started the process. It was actually a very smooth ride. Naruto had experience with teleporting techniques, both the reverse summoning jutsu and the hiraishin from when he fought alongside his father. This might not be as fast as those two techniques, but it was less uncomfortable. He didn't feel the tugging sensation in his chest like when reverse summoned, and there was none of the disorientation you felt when you were instantly moved to another place like the hiraishin. The image of the Occult Research Club's room just started superimposing itself over his vision, and the sight of his kitchen faded in a few seconds to leave him in the clubroom. If he had his eyes closed, he probably wouldn't have even felt the shift. Rias left his side to move behind her desk to sit down. She then told him, "Take a seat, Naruto-kun." Naruto did just that. Both Koneko and Yuto were sitting down, Koneko eating some sweet-smelling snack that was on the table. Naruto took a seat on the empty couch. Right as he got comfortable though, a soft-sounding voice spoke up behind him. "Good to see you've arrived, Naruto-kun." Naruto jumped as his head turned to see that Akeno had somehow managed to creep up behind the couch he was sitting on. Man, she's pretty darn good at suppressing her presence when she wants to. Naturally Naruto didn't focus on that. He instead focused on the fact that she had gotten within 5 feet of him. So he quickly exclaimed in a panic, 5 foot minimum. Let it be said spending 10 minutes with Akeno trying to shock him had not helped Naruto overcome his fear of her. Rolling her eyes in amusement, Akeno still stepped back to calm Naruto down. She then gave a melodramatic sigh while lifting a tray of food to show it off. She then declared in a clearly fake sad voice, "That's too bad. I made all this food, but I can't even get close enough to give it to you. Oh well, I guess Bucho and I can split it." "Wait!" Naruto exclaimed uncertainly, his stomach growling. He then demanded, "Why can't you just place it on the little table, you fufu?" "If I did that then I wouldn't be able to blackmail you to allow me to sit next to you," Akeno stated in a deadpan, apparently dropping the act. Naruto just glared at her with a twitching eyebrow. His eyes then drifted to the tray. Note, they did not stop on her breasts briefly. Naruto would argue that point to the death if anyone dared comment on it. Should he allow a sadist he is terrified of to sit next to him in return for food, or should he go hungry, and not put himself in bodily harm? His stomach rumbling answered for him. Blushing at the loud noise, Naruto finally answered reluctantly, "Fine, you can sit next to me, but if I see any sparks I'm jumping out the window." "Yafufu, of course, Naruto-kun," Akeno replied with a graceful smile. Elegantly taking the spot next to him, she then placed the tray of food on the small table in front of them. She then ruined the elegant image by adding, "Just seeing you so scared is enough for me." Sweat dropping, Naruto muttered to himself, "I hate sadists so much." He didn't remove himself though, although he was squirming uncomfortably. Giggling quietly, Akeno then muttered to herself in a whisper purposefully loud enough for Naruto to hear, "Step 1, complete. Just got to be patient. He'll be wearing a collar while I whip him in no time at all." Naruto paled at her words, sweat breaking out on his forehead. He wasn't going to comment though. He didn't want to touch that image with a 10-foot pole. Instead he just focused on the tray of food. Grabbing some, he tried it out hesitantly. Rias' earlier words about Akeno's cooking were quickly proven. Naruto immediately dug in. It's too bad Akeno's a sadist. He'd probably be really attracted to her if she wasn't. She was still hot, but the fear overcame his hormones. Rias just watched all this with a raised eyebrow, not sure what to really think of the interactions. When it stopped though, she coughed to get everyone's attention. She then looked at Naruto and told him, "I'll now be telling you about your other duties as a devil. Koneko, can you get the flyers?" Koneko nodded and stood up from her spot. Moving over to the nearby counter, she came back with several stacks of papers in her arms. Placing them on the coffee table, she then sat back down and got back to eating without a word. Naruto quickly took a flyer to see that it had a type of miniature magic circle printed on it, as well as the words, "Will grant your wish." Rias quickly explained, "Devils are beings of desire. We form contracts with humans and fulfill their desires in return for compensation. Since few humans are capable of drawing magical circles nowadays, we hand out these flyers with simplified summoning circles. When a person's greed is powerful enough, it will summon us. We create a contract, and we are compensated for satisfying their desire." Naruto tilted his head before asking curiously, "What sort of compensation do you mean?" Rias quickly answered casually, "It matters on the job required. Money or objects of value are the typical payment. Technically anything of value. We could even take their lives if the job is high enough, make them work as a servant in the underworld for the rest of their lives. That is rare nowadays though. Very little is worth such a price. So we're basically random chores for money." Naruto deadpanned at her. Rias just shrugged before explaining him matter-of-factly, "Devils need money as well. As a member of my peerage, you are technically considered a servant of the Gremory clan. By doing this, you supplement the income of the Gremory clan. Does it really make a difference? Is doing random chores really enough to provide that much of an income?" Naruto pointed out skeptically. Rias didn't appear bothered by his doubt, and explained calmly, "Right now, it really isn't. As a low-class devil, not much is expected of you. While this doesn't apply to you much, Naruto-kun, most low-class devils are supported by their king's family. Akeno, Yuto, Koneko. Each of them lives rent-free in an apartment complex owned by the Gremory clan. We provide them with food, clothes, and handle almost all of their financial needs. Doing these chores for a small income is more a sign of gratitude than anything. The income is too little to completely reimburse the expenses, but it is more a duty than anything by this point. This is simply what low-class devils are capable of at this point. As devils advance in rank, other methods of creating an income will become available that provide a lot more. A mid- or high-class devil is capable of performing duties that would match or exceed the financial demands their presence places on their king's family. Not to sound like a jerk, but doesn't that mean I'm exempt from this? I'm rich, and don't receive any financial support from your family," Naruto justified awkwardly. "You are completely right in not needing to recompense my family," Rias admitted easily before elaborating, "but that doesn't mean you are excused from this entirely. One of the first things evaluated when considering allowing a devil a promotion is the amount of income a devil brings in through this method. The income provided by reincarnated devils is an important aspect of the underworld economy, so it is an important aspect of being a devil. So you can't just be exempt from performing this duty entirely. I can give you a book detailing the importance of reincarnated devils' incomes, and the effect these incomes have on the devil economy if you wish to gain a greater understanding on why you must perform these duties." "I'll pass," Naruto replied quickly, holding his hands up to shield himself. He might be curious, but not near enough for him to read a book that is most likely boring as hell. "I thought you would," Rias said with amusement in her voice. She was finally starting to understand Naruto. He's surprisingly curious, but is laid back or lazy enough that he prefers to keep things simple. "So I have to hand these out, and then do what the person wants." "That sounds rather sketchy to be honest," Naruto commented as he examined the flyer again. "Don't worry. You don't have to do whatever they want. While it is frowned upon to refuse too many requests, every devil has certain limits. You don't have to have sex with clients, give them money, accept assassination requests, or anything else too extreme. There are devils that specialize in such duties. Any such request goes to them. The magic circles can automatically detect the desires of the user, and the magic circles of the Gremory clan won't activate for such people. So you don't need to worry about such requests. You can also refuse any request you do end up receiving, but don't take it too far in refusing requests. Some tasks will be mildly annoying or embarrassing. Koneko has a number of clients who ask her to wear cosplay outfits. Akeno is often asked to babysit children or clean up a dirty house. Yuto is often called just to listen to his clients talk about their troubles. Troublesome tasks, but not harmful, Rias explained coolly. Naruto nodded in understanding. So these were like D-rank missions. The grunt work. A pain in the ass, but stuff everyone has to do at some point. Looking at the large stack of flyers, Naruto asked in dismay, "And I have to hand all these out by hand?" Grinning in amusement, Rias answered easily, "Yep. We usually use familiars to do it, but you still lack a familiar. It is also part of the basics for newly reincarnated devils. Building a client base is the first and easiest step to gaining respect and status as a devil." Akeno then pulled out a small red device and handed it to Naruto. He looked at it with a cocked head. There was a small screen that turned into a radar device after Naruto pressed a button. Akeno quickly informed him, "This is a device developed by devils to aid in this task. This device will locate humans with strong desires since there is no point in wasting flyers on those who lack the desire necessary to call upon us. Using this you go around at night, find the houses of humans with strong desire, and put a flyer in their mailbox." Naruto took in this information with a small frown. This would make the entire task simpler as Naruto wouldn't need to hand out flyers to random people. You can target those relevant to your goals. It still sounded extremely annoying though. So he quickly questioned, just throwing the obvious out there. I'm rich, and I'm still getting income for Ika. Can I just use that as a source of income instead of doing this? The answer to that is yes. You can definitely do that. That would be your choice though. Despite being my servant, I cannot simply take the profits from the Ika franchise. You'd have to willingly let us access them, and a large business transaction like that would require a great deal of preparation. You'd have to talk with my father, lawyers would have to discuss terms. It would take months at least. Until that time you will have to gather income in the usual way, Rias regretfully informed him. That caused Naruto's celebration to be cut down. He quickly demanded in annoyance, so I still have to hand out flyers. Yes, Rias replied, once again amused by his very open emotional state. She then clarified, if it makes you feel any better, I would have had you hand out flyers anyways. This is considered the basics of reincarnated devils for a reason. The number of contracts a devil has made is used to determine when they are ready to take the test to become a mid-class devil along with the amount of income they have collected. If you make no contracts, it could lower the chance for you to raise your ranking quickly. This also teaches another skill essential to devils. Social abilities. As creatures of desire, devils have to know how to get what they want. Not everything can be achieved through power. Interacting with clients is a good way to gain a greater understanding of how to properly cooperate with people. You need to be able to comprehend the motives and desires of people, know how to be affable and persuasive, negotiate a contract, evaluate the worth of your actions and choose a suitable reward, etc. These skills can aid us in future endeavors in my opinion, so this is something I must insist you do, Naruto-kun. Fine, Naruto grumbled in irritation, reluctantly accepting her words. Grabbing a stack of the flyers, he announced to the group, if that is all, I'll be heading out. Good. That is all I needed to tell you today, so you don't have to return here afterwards. It will likely be dark when you finish. Just come here tomorrow after school. The next day Naruto was working his way towards the clubroom with an unusual hurry in his steps. The previous day had gone as well as could be expected. Handing out flyers sucked, even with the radar. Just a whole lot of running around. Naruto had eventually turned it into a training exercise. The continuous movement helped his endurance, and he decided to travel by rooftop, which also worked his chakra control and capacity. So while it might have sucked, it was at least bearable. The school day was a bit more annoying. Somehow it had leaked to the general school populace that Naruto had joined the occult research club. Gossip naturally resulted, although Naruto had just ignored that. The real problem was with the perverted trio. Issei was distracted, but Matsuda and Motohama both grilled Naruto on his reasons. They then begged him to allow them to enter as well, as the two great ladies of Ko were in the club as well as the school mascot. That was just annoying for Naruto since they couldn't join, but he couldn't explain why, so he was glad when the day ended. He was hurrying to the clubroom. He'd forgotten something that was going to happen today, and he had to tell Rias. Opening the door, Naruto was immediately greeted with, "Good of you to arrive so quickly, Naruto-kun." Rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly, Naruto claimed weakly, "Yeah, but you probably aren't going to like the reason why, though I sort of have somewhere to be in half an hour." Raising an elegant eyebrow, Rias finally told him, "Really? I'll need an explanation, of course. Sit down and tell me what you have to do. I'll decide afterwards." Nodding, Naruto quickly looked at the two couches. Yuto wasn't to be seen. Koneko was sitting in her usual spot while eating another sweet-smelling snack, and Akeno was sitting opposite her on the other couch. Akeno shot him a wide smile while he was looking. Getting the usual bad feeling in his chest from seeing Akeno, Naruto sat next to Koneko. Akeno pouted at his action. Rias once again just watched all this in amusement. Despite his statement the day before about not trusting them, Naruto had managed to create his own little niche in their group rather easily. The playful fear of Akeno. A polite relationship with Yuto that Rias suspected would grow stronger once the two were able to get to know each other. The teasing of Koneko. To her he acted like a blunt, but rather loyal servant. She wondered how long that would last. Naruto did not strike her as the type to stay contained for long. Leaning forward, she questioned, "So what is it that you need to do?" Naruto scratched the back of his head as he informed her, "Well, I got sort of bored over the past few months. I couldn't train all the times after all, and I don't have many hobbies. So I started volunteering 3 or 4 times a week at different places. Today is specifically the day I usually volunteer at a nearby soup kitchen." Rias just looked at him curiously. That actually fit Naruto quite a bit. Thinking deeply, she finally spoke up, "Technically there is nothing against the devil performing charity work." "Who is it sponsored by?" Naruto shrugged before answering easily, "A number of different church groups." Rias frowned at the answer. Sighing, she commented, "That is what I feared. I'm sorry, Naruto, but for your own safety I can't allow you to go." And that caused Naruto to frown. His eyes hardening, he bluntly informed her, "Yeah, this wasn't so much me asking for permission to go as it was more me telling you that I'm going." Naruto cut her off by crossing his arms to form an X and declaring, "No way, Rias-chan. You might be my king or whatever, but I am not going to stop going to that soup kitchen just because you are worried. The people there are nice, and I help people. Just because you tell me they are my enemies doesn't make it true in my mind." Shaking her head in slight annoyance at his defiance, Rias argued. Think this through, Naruto-kun. If any members of the Christian church find out you are a devil, they could send an exorcist after you. Humans blessed by the biblical God. When a devil is exorcised, there is no fixing it. No healing or revival possible. You are dead as dead can be. Your point? They don't know, and I wouldn't care if they did. Even if they did send an exorcist after me, which it isn't certain they would, then I am confident that I could escape, Naruto retorted stubbornly. Rias sighed as that and pointed out, don't get arrogant. Many of the exorcists of the church are far stronger than you currently are. Plus, they specifically target the weaknesses of devils, and you shouldn't be paranoid. Just because they are from the Christian church doesn't mean they are immediately our enemies, Naruto reasoned persistently. But they could be, and I have no intention of putting one of my servants at risk, Rias asserted, not backing down. Clearly your idea of risk is different from my idea of risk, Naruto retorted, not about to back down either. By now Naruto had stood up, and the two were facing off with each other. Akeno and Koneko both watched with wide eyes. This was unexpected. Naruto had been getting along with Rias overall, probably more than anyone else in the club. This argument came out of nowhere, but you could tell neither were about to back down. Knowing it needed to be diffused before it escalated any further, Akeno stood up and separated the two with her hands. She then spoke in a calming voice, that is enough you two. Naruto, Bucho is just worrying about your safety. And Bucho, you are acting without even considering the feelings Naruto obviously has towards that soup kitchen. Now I suggest both of you take a deep breath and calm down. Both Naruto and Rias reluctantly followed the suggestion. Crossing his arms, Naruto looked away with a huff. Despite his defiant body language, he muttered, sorry, Rias-chan. I still won't stop volunteering at the soup kitchen, but I will do my best to stay safe. That's the best I can do, Rias rubbed her brow as she replied in a disgruntled voice. And that's probably the best I'll get out of you. I can't stop you, but there are rules you must follow. You still have to perform your duties. Handing out flyers and meeting clients during the night. If you can do that, I guess I can't stop you from doing what you want during the day. Be careful though. Devils and religions have never gotten along well. Maybe that's cause both sides allow stupid preconceptions from allowing them to try, Naruto retorted directly. Decided nothing else needed to be said, Naruto walked out of the clubroom, and there is his natural unruliness acting up. Earlier than she expected, but she apparently touched on a rather sensitive topic. Rias sighed before explaining, I told you before that the biblical God is the leader of heaven and the angels, and thus our enemy. The system he created ensures things related to him harm us. We can't pray without migraines. People doing it near us also harm us. Light magic, holy water, crosses, and Bibles will also harm us. Thus an event organized by the Christian church is simply too dangerous. Not to mention most religions don't take kindly to devils. For safety you can't. That could have gone better. Naruto knew it would have eventually happened. It was inevitable. As a kid Naruto had been a disobedient hellion. Kakashi had managed to teach Naruto to accept the little stuff. He knew how to work together with each other on a team, but the big stuff never went over so well. Naruto admitted he wasn't the smartest or most philosophical guy in the world, but he still has his own beliefs. And he was willing to stand by those beliefs. He wasn't going to bow to the will of another, even Rias, despite willingly becoming her servant. Naruto had little doubt Rias was far more intelligent than him, but that wasn't enough. Naruto could see in her eyes she was woefully inexperienced. Experience was one thing Naruto had. His will and beliefs had been tested by the likes of Pain, Obito, and Madara. Nothing Rias came up with could possibly compete with that. Her apparent belief that followers of the biblical god should be treated warily, to the point of considering them enemies, didn't sit well with Naruto. It reminded him of how the hidden villages used to see each other. Perceptions like that only increased the likelihood of conflict and the continuation of the cycle of hatred. So of course he wasn't just going to fall in line. That probably made him a crappy servant. However, if he abandoned his beliefs, then he'd be a crappy person. The choice was clear for Naruto. That meant this wouldn't be the last argument the two of them had. Whether she even realizes it, Rias expects her peerage to follow her lead. With Naruto not doing so, the tension would build and build. Naruto hopes they can resolve this before things go bad. He honestly liked Rias. She was a genuinely good person. Disagreeing with her views doesn't change that. As he walked, a new thought came to his head. The biblical god apparently punishes devils for uttering his name. A stupid idea came to his head, but Naruto decided to go with it. Looking up into the sky, he started, Hey there, God. Once never really cared to talk to you before, but I'm bored and feel like messing with someone. God, go. Okay, that stings. Are you a sadist, God? Gay. Seems that annoyed you. Someone seems a bit insecure. Gay. That time I didn't even say your name. That's just cheating. Unfair. Shouldn't you be setting a good example for your followers? What? No comeback. Wow, who would have guessed God is a wimp? Gay. That one had some kick behind it. Good. You see, real men always escalate. Everything worth doing is worth overdoing. Get it, God? Gay. Never let it be said Naruto was a bright person. No matter how experienced or worldly he become, he'll always be the same person at heart. The type of person that will willingly suffer pain just for the chance to annoy a person with inane chatter. The fact that God apparently didn't want devils to say his name was only a bonus. The fact he was literally trolling God made the shooting pain in his head so worth it. What if Naruto has the Phoenix Force in high school DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel. And leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.